Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the one, the only Sim Race South Africa, and welcome back to the simGT3 Championship of 2026. And my name is Kernick, and welcome to the beautiful circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, where we're going to see round 5 out of 6, the second last round of the championship, and it's looking to be an absolute amazing one. But that being said, our drivers need to really start pushing up the mark because the championship is looking rather close. But if you're not sure what Spa-Francorchamps looks like and you're trying to figure out, hang on, we're in Belgium, there's Spa, it's definitely not where you get treated nicely. This circuit can really give you a bit of a bite. Let's go to our track layout and take a look at Spa-Francorchamps. The beautiful circuit of Spa, coming off the legendary Spa 24 hour this past weekend, where a South African managed to do incredibly well. I just want to add that out there. But we also got to see a number of drivers really pushing out the limit, seeing what they can do for iRaces next week. Well, this coming weekend is their Spa 24 hour, and we already had a Spa 24 hour done on ACC. But here, for Sim Race South Africa, our drivers are taking on this legendary 20-turn circuit. One of our longer of the tracks. Spa-Francorchamps has always been a fan favorite to come to, but has seen its own way of controversy in drivers having to push that a little bit too hard as they launch their way up from La Source, which is the big hairpin at the bottom, up through to Radion and for Rouge before they hit the Camel Straight and into the Les Coombs. It's generally around turn 3, turn 4 where you see drivers tend to get it wrong, and the remnants of the crash lie on turn 5 heading to turn 6. Now, drivers are going to be looking to find it out for the championship since it's round 5 of 6. It's all about maximizing it, and most of the teams have already started utilizing their drop routes. And talking about those points, it's Kernick at the top of the leaderboard, sitting with 262 points. He has raced 4 times. He's managed to get 1 win, 0 penalties and no skips. Sean Loureiro sits in second place, trying to pull up the pace. He's got Sean Skitter chasing him down in that Honda NSX, who at one stage of the game was leading the championship, but stumbled down to 3rd. He's going to have to try and fight his way through. Jason Farmer, been on a stellar run, and is now looking to make a solid impact onto the track as well. Ulrich Dialga holds on to the top 5, followed by Chris Heineke, Lubert Mankies, Timothy Gnomes, along with Anthony Monitz, Tyron Myberg, Francis Bernardi, Hannes Kruger, Gert Swart, Jeffrey Leroux, and Louis Trickhardt, rounding out your top 15 in the championship. Now, drivers are busy enjoying a great little bit of time out in practice, getting themselves used to the cars, and just getting themselves set up and ready for the race. We do expect to have quite a stacked field. 21 cars set to take on this legendary circuit. A massive welcome to everyone out in the virtual grandstands. We have Anthony Moritz going and saying, how's it? He's going to be out on circuit tonight, going to be enjoying the race, and hopefully Eau Rouge is going to be his best friend. Antonio Gamble saying, how's it everyone? Go Jason Farmer, my boy! And go Griffin Sim Racing. That just follows right around the world. Doesn't matter what sim you're in. It always comes into the celebrations, and it's wonderful to have you all out in the virtual grandstands joining us here at Sim Race South Africa for the second last race of the season, and it's looking to be quite a great one. There is a lot happening here in Sim Race South Africa, including utilizing other sims in the very near future, so keep an eye out on our Discord. Might be utilizing a little bit of LMU, AC Evo, and more that will be coming down the works. And well, the only way you're going to keep up with all the information is with our Discord down below and be a part of the amazing show. So as our drivers just getting themselves all organized, we will head down to the circuit shortly here at Spa-Francorchamps, and looking forward to seeing what they can do. Kernick, however, is looking to be on a stellar charge, considering Sean Loureiro and himself are tied out for points. A win here tonight for Kernick, and Sean Loureiro bumping out of the top 5 means that he has got no points to get on for the fight and will lose out the championship, meaning Kernick tonight may be able to walk away with a championship hot in the underneath his belt, and we'll be hoping they can keep a solid run. Sean Loureiro hopes to reverse that one and get some victory on his side. Now, if you talk about consistency, Sean Loureiro has not won a single race, but what he has done is consistently been in the fight, and that's allowed him to tie up in the points. Sean Skitter is a bit of a wild card here, can really throw his name up into the top along with Jason Farmer to see if they can both try and gain some headway in the championship. And does look like it's going to be a Griffin Sim Racing team up at the top of the log for the race. But we're going to have to see how that's all going to work out as we start making our way through. Our practice time has just ticked over, and we will be moving on. So currently, for those that are wondering, what sort of times are we looking at race pace? Well, we've seen the likes of Nortman managing to do a 2 minute 21.9. Wimpy Mankey's also going and improving. He's done a 2:22. So you're looking about the 2:22, 2:21 mark as a good time to fight it out. And, well, if it's anyone like me, if you can do under 10 minutes, you're faster than the commentator. So well done. That's going to be the main one to keep an eye out for. But Nortman was the quickest in practice. Mankey's in second. Funzale, Bernardi, and then we've got Wimpy Mankey's a little bit further down. So this is going to be an interesting one for our drivers as we're just waiting for the timers to tick over and we can join the circuit out. Join the drivers out on the circuit. Massive welcome to everyone here at SimRace South Africa. Wonderful to have you all joining us for the incredible action, and a big shout out to all our sponsors, Oxford Distributors, coming in and sponsoring the season, being a part of the show, and also keeping the wheels moving right here at SimRace South Africa, being the main sponsor for our series. Gotta say a special thank you to them for keeping the lights on. That being said though, we're going to get ready as our drivers will be moving on to qualifying, and let's go take a look at our quali. So quick look over to our quali, and we'll also get a little bit of engine noise coming through. It is going to be a great one for our competitors. Jeffrey LaRue heading out onto the circuit, looks to try and have a solid effort with Ulrich de Jager going to be battling out. Got Tyron Myberg along the circuit as well. Louis Trickott and the Bet Mankeys a little bit further down. They're going to be making their way out the pits. Jason Farmer been incredibly quick this season. Hasn't had the best of luck. Looking to try and put himself onto the top of that leaderboard. Ruben Heineke with likes of Chris Van Zel, the BDE Racing. Not going to be caught down in the dumps. Hannes Kruger for the Quacker team. Going to be sending their ways going. The Quacker team actually went and raced in a Mazda 787B in a Mazda race not too long ago, same as the Griffin Sim Racing team. Chris Heineke, a little bit further down, 11th with Francois Bernardi. Then we got Sean Loureiro out in the BMW. Michael Hassenbrook a little bit further down, M14. Timothy Gnomes, and we've got Nortman, unfortunately, just dipping out. And Kurt Swart, along with Jason Luck of the Line Speed GP. Wimpy Mankeys of the Quacker team a little bit further down. Wilfred Robertson for the Eleanor Cheese and Wine. And Sean Skitter rounding out our 20-car field here tonight. We did have one. Unfortunately, it seems like he was not able to continue. Hopefully we can get him back into the server. But these drivers now trying to pick up the pace, feel what they can do. The team WRT, Jeffrey LaRue behind the wheel of that Griffin Sim Racing BMW, looking to have a bit of fun. We'll be hoping for an absolute cracker to try and move his way forward and ensure that he can stay in for the fight. I gotta say, these drivers are going to be in a tough mix for their race. Tyron Myberg's going to be on a hard charge as well. We've seen him fight it out all season long, looking to stay in for the fight. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the easiest of runs for them. And the drivers will be thinking, right, what do we need to do to stay at the top? How am I going to be moving our way forward? This is the Premier Division, which means this is the fastest of the fast, managing to go and fight it out with one another, and ultimately seeing who's going to be able to stand and hold their mark at the end of it. Now, Ruin Heineke is one to keep an eye out for with Sean Lerera. The two of them battling out for that top position. And at the moment, they will be trying to figure out how they can best one another. It's all about the team coming into play, but the drivers now thinking about their own little wins. Ruin Heineke and Sean Lerera do not want to have Jason Farmer and Sean Skitter getting anywhere close to them. Otherwise, unfortunately, that can absolutely bottle up their championship and leave it down to the final round to get that championship sorted out. So we take a look at Sean Lerera. Hard push in the BMW, trying to get as much pace as possible, wanting to see what he can do as we jump on board. And the driver down the gears, slamming it through, keeping it tight, trying to make it all work as he heads towards Speaker Corner. In through the left-hander, holding on to that third gear as long as possible, gets onto the gas, chasing down the Aston Martin just ahead of him, of Chris Heineke. Trying to see if he could get a little bit closer, get a little bit of a tow. Through Puon, getting a bit unsteady there, had to try and bring the car back. As he keeps his foot firmly on the power. Everyone so far just looking to put in just a banker lap thus far. Let's see where they can start shuffling their way through. Got to remember this race, it also comes down to your pit stop as well. And on a circuit like Spa-Francorchamps, that pit lane is incredibly long. The drivers will have about 72 seconds from pit entrance to exit that they'll have to negate in pure pace, or to ensure that they will either get the overcut by a million miles or by the undercut, which is going to be far down. Unfortunately, one of our Ferraris, that's Fonsale, pulling off to one side. Jason Farmer sits fastest lap time with a 2:18.2 into the bus stop, though, as Lerera carrying that bit of momentum, seeing if he could get on the power. Oh, a little bit of a drift on the way out, and immediately stands on the power, hoping that it's going to help him out. Gets into second place, Farmer in first. 2:18.2 set by our leaders. Chris Heineke sits in that third place with a 2:18.8. Then we've got Ulrich de Jager fighting back with a 2:19.5. Michael Assenbrook trying to also come in with a 2:21, and it's Sean Skitter that is able to knock Farm off that top pedestal, 0.047 as they came across. Now that is incredible pace, but can he get it down to a 2:17? This is just a first lap, which means they're just scrubbing in those tires, just getting a bit of heat into those brakes, and they will be focusing on the hard charge. Farmer looking to try and push a little bit harder, see what he can do to try and bring it back in for the attack, hoping they can stand in for a solid charge. Jason Luck, however, will be going and fighting his way, currently in 5th place. He's currently 0.2 up on his time. Not completely out of the running as yet, but is trying to pull it back from the brink. Ulrich de Jager is exactly the same. 0.3 up on his time. 0.4. He had a solid run out through Puon. Got to be more than happy with that one. He's just trying to give it that extra little bit more of a push. Nortman back into the server. Will be able to get a time on the board, which is absolutely wonderful to see. As our drivers looking once again to put in those incredible lap times. Farmer yet to try and get ahead of Sean Skitter's time. He runs out wide. It might be a track limit that they will look at, as our in-sim stewards will keep a very close eye on drivers that tend to use a little bit too much road, slinging it around Blanchemont down towards the bus stop. Is this going to be a good one for Jason Farmer? Down the gears he goes, carrying that one on the door, hoping to call himself champion yet again. Will get on the power early as possible. 0.4 up on his time. Will get into a 2:17.8 as he came across the line. Beautifully done. Skitter will be the next one to try and come through. Heineke sits in with a 2:18.177 to Skitter's 2:18.122. So Sean Skitter running into a bit of a problem. LaRue up into second place with the 2:18. So he's going to be more than happy on that drive. Does pull off the circuit, allow the drivers to come through. Is this going to be Skitter's chance to retake that front row? Unfortunately not. Down in third place. Ruin Heineke still pushing as hard as he can, along with Wilfred Robertson on a stellar charge. Don't count out the Mustang driver as yet. The Eleanor Cheese and Wine, the gentleman himself, the distinguished gentleman, having a ton of fun out there, hoping to really keep himself going. Currently in 9th position, looking to push out a little bit harder. Will be coming across the line. We'll get into a 2:19.2. Not quite the 2:18 he's searching for, but is getting closer and closer. Now, there's a couple of drivers still yet to get a time on the board. Louis Trichart along with Chris Van Sale. Hannes Kruger is yet to get a time on the board. Anthony Moritz of Oxford ATT Racing and Nortman still needing to get a time on the board. So far, Swart is the last of those that have got a time on the board with a 2:25.6. This is going to be an improvement on his time. The Oxford ATT Racing comes across. He moves up into 14, getting ahead of Vippy Bankies and Francis Bernardi. And going to be more than happy to have a stellar run there. Ruben Heineke trying to push as hard as he can in the Ferrari 296. The Griffin Sim Racing team been putting a bit of work into their cars and hoping that they can keep a solid effort right now to try and carry on the momentum. So far, it's Jason Farmer and LaRue sitting on the front row. Heineke is going to be looking to try and position himself a little bit further up the drift from Sean Skitter. See if he could get the advantage into turn 1. So, Heineke carrying the momentum, late on the brakes. Sees a little bit of dirt ahead of him, not too phased about it. Into the bus stop, swings it out early on the power. And now it's 0.3 up. Can he get it into the 217 range? He does. A 217.9, beating out LaRue. So 217.9, not quite with Jason Farmer's 217.8, but close enough to make a solid impact there as we take a look on board with Sean Skitter down the gears, really running it through to try and get a little bit more drive underneath him. Swings it to the right, swings it to the left, flat on the gas and keeps it going. 0.3 as he comes across the line. 217.8. He takes the front row. Gonna be happy on that one to lie on the front row with still 10 minutes left in this qualifying. Drivers searching for times. They are searching for that little bit of pace, but the lead separated by it's 2/1000th of a second between Farmer and Skitter. They're going to be hoping to see that go and improve. Larera, Heineke still pushing hard between one another, running 6th and 7th at the moment. Wilfred Robertson right behind, all in the 218s. Only 3 of the drivers, Farmer, Skitter, and Ruben Heineke, have been able to get into the 17s. The rest of the drivers have seen that it is a possibility, but they're going to have to really dig deep. Like Chris Heineke right now, 0.3 up on his time. Will boot it across the line, does get across, up into 6th position. Going to be happy with that. Couldn't quite beat out Mr. Luck, though, who holds on to 5th place with a 2:18.3. So Jason Luck more than happy to sit there and just wait out the clock as our drivers come through. Tyron Myberg out in the Go Slow Mustang, definitely not going slow. Utilize the tow from Bernardi out in the Aston Martin. Says thank you very much for that one. And he managing to move himself up to 11th position at the moment. Louis Trichart, though, going to be a great improvement on his behalf. 1.8 seconds faster than his last time. He's going to see if he's going to bring that 2:23.5 down as he gets flat on the gas. Really gives it a hard push across the line. And it is an up to 16th and a 2:21.7. Tying up with Van Zale just ahead of him. Nortman, the only driver yet to have a time on the board, will be thinking, right, what do I need to do to try and make this work? I've invalidated my lap more than once with this McLaren. I've got to try and dig that little bit deeper and see if I can try and bring it back a little bit more. Down the gears he goes. Absolutely pushing it as hard as he can. Nortman trying to see if this is going to be his top lap or he's going to have to do it again. Looks like it's going to be a good lap from him. A 2:22.0 up into 17th position, putting Hannes Kruger down to the bottom. Farmer looking to improve, was much quicker in Sector 2 than his original time, but he is currently up on his delta as he makes his way around the circuit. Jason Farmer on a hard push here to try and maximize the wins and see if he can try and fight his way in the championship. Skitter holds on to that 2nd place, unfortunately not up in his delta. Ruben Heineke trying to give a hard push as well. Don't count him out of the fight, as Ruben Heineke has been also just keeping his finger on the pulse, trying to see where he can edge out a bit of points in this championship and see where he can move forward. There's been quite a shake-up from the start of the championship all the way through to now. If we go back to the original Nürburgring where it was a bit of an interesting race for most of the drivers, Jason Farmer particularly landing up with a hard drive-through penalty that he had to try and shake off. And we'll be hoping that he doesn't run into any issues like that again. Our drivers hoping to have a stark reminder. I mean, this is going to be a great race. And every single one of our drivers just looking to try and push that a little bit more to see how they can go and move up the order. Second last race of the championship means that you gotta go and push as hard as you can. Farmer currently 0.1 up on his time. This is going to bring it down to a 2:17.6 if he can just make it out of the corner and make it all work out for him. Gets flat onto the gas, pushing as hard as he can, and across the line does get a 2:17.4. I thought it was going to be a 2:17.6. Well, he proved me wrong on that one. Carried a lot more momentum, and once again, stretching open that gap for qualifying. Showing that he's not going to be caught out as Skitter holds on second place. Loureiro holds on to third with Ruben Heineke into fourth. Jeffrey Leroux in fifth place. Chris Heineke, Jason Luck, Ulrich de Jager still trying to give it everything they can. Timothy Gomez going to be pushing as hard as he can. It's good to see Timothy of the Go Slow team pushing to try and stay up into the top 10 with Wolfert Robinson going and tailing on the back of him. Tyron Myberg in 11th. Anthony Moritz sits down in 12th. Michael Hassenbrook in 13th with Lebet Mankies sitting in that 14th position. Nortman a little bit further down in the CD's trying to give it everything he can for a solid drive. And Chris Van Zyl going and fighting back. Louis Trickhardt, Swart, Mankies, Bernardi, and Hannes Kruger. Just got to say, it's always nice to have a little bit of a hand up here in the commentary box, and a big shout out to everyone that helps out here in the commentary box. They keep us going, keep us alive. So shout out to all that's helped out in the back here. So, with that being said, Farmer, hard push, swings it out wide, runs over the curb. That's going to take him out of having his quick lap. And now just trying to see what he can do. 4 minutes and 47 seconds to go of our qualifying, and still a little bit more pace needed by these drivers to really dig deep, to really move their way up through the order. It's going to be a tough time for the second last round of the championship, because after this, they've got one race left, and that is going to come down to Bathurst. And so everyone's looking to make a big impact here at Spa before they head over to the mountain and go and try and avoid the guide rails up at the top. As so far, LaRue, great lap on him, gets up into third place with a 2:17.7. Sean Skitter down into fourth. Sean Loureiro up into second, which is a great go on his part because he is fighting out for the championship, and this will now boost him up a little bit more. Ruben Heineke is who he's fighting, and Ruben Heineke at the moment sits in fifth place. So for Sean Loureiro, this is exactly what he wants to see. Ruben Heineke falling down and possibly to get into an argument with Chris Heineke, his brother, to see if the two of them can slow each other down, and Sean Loureiro to walk away with the points that can help him out. 262 points coming into this round between Ruben Heineke and Sean Loureiro, with Sean Skitter on 247, Jason Farmer on 235, Ulrich de Jager on 213. Keeping a solid charge. Another little tie we've got to keep an eye out for is not up for the top 3, but it's actually a fight for 8th and 9th place. And that actually sits between Timothy out in the Porsche, the 992 GT3R, and Anthony Moritz, who fights out in the Ford Mustang, who currently sits in 9th position, both on 174 points, both looking to try and push their way up through the order. And that's just another one of our ties. Francis Bernardi, one of our Aston Martin drivers, sits in with 154 points in 11th position, tied once again, another tie with Hannes Kruger in the 12, the Ferrari 296, hoping to get a stellar drive, both sitting on 154 points and fighting out for the 11th and 12th spot. So there is a solid interest in who's going to be able to move forward. and who is going to be able to stay at the sharp end, as we got 3 ties during this championship that's coming down to the last 2 rounds for that ultimate push. Teammates against teammates, well, we also got those that are friends now turned foes. So far, it's Jason Farmer, the quickest in Sector 2, but Ruin Heineke, fastest in Sector 3, and he's not the fastest in Sector 1. That actually goes to Jason Luck, who sits with the fastest in Sector 1. So our drivers doing what they can for the last minute and 40 seconds. Farmer and Skitter hold on to the front row. Sean Larera and Jeffrey LaRue hold on to the second row. Ruin Heineke and Chris Heineke hold on to the third row. Luck and Ulrich de Jager go and sit on 7th and 8th. 9th is Timothy Gomes along with Wolfert Robertson rounding out that top 10. Well, the Mustangs getting clumped up together. 10th, 11th, 12th, trying to find some pace in it. The BMWs moving up through the order with Larero and LaRue sitting right against one another out in the 3rd and 4th position. They'll be holding on to that second row, leaving the Ferrari and the Honda to try and duke it out for the start. And everyone trying to find that little bit more pace to them, as we do see Ruin Heineke come across the line, not able to improve. He will just call it quits from there and say, look, unable to improve. I got my 217.6 and unable to go and beat out Sean Skitter. Let's see what I can do come the race. Wolfert Robertson giving a hard charge on his part. We're looking to try and bring it back, and comes across the line. Anthony Moritz going to be pushing as hard as he can at the moment as well. In 12th position. Gets flat on the gas. Down the gears he goes. Absolutely ramming it through the corners. Looking to try and find some pace. Wants to get into that top 10. So does Chris Van Zyl at the moment. Looking to try and get himself into the top 10. Lies in 14th at the moment, up on his time. Louis Tricot trying to go and get a little bit more pace on the way through to Eau Rouge. Trying to see if he can move up into the top 15 with Hannes Kruger. Last of those, it's managing to do a solid time. Qualifying set and done. Farmer just giving it that final push. Currently up on his Delta. Just going for the flowers here. Seeing if he can get a hole shot right in for it. Sean Skitter still pushing as hard as he can. He can still go and take Jason Farmer's time and get around a 2:17.4 versus Skitter's 2:17.6. The two of them going and fighting out. It is a race to see who's going to be quickest in qualifying. Lots of those are actually up on the Delta, as Chris Van Zyl over here. The BDE Racing not completely out of the running as yet. Ferrari just sliding his way through the corners, trying to give it that extra little bit of pizzazz, seeing if he can push himself out a little bit harder and ultimately stay in for the fight. Van Zyl in 14th position. Now at the moment, looking for a top 10. Trying to carry the momentum through as Jason Farmer down on his Delta. He's out in the running. Sean Skitter still's got a bit of time left in him. He's 0.1 up on his time. Can he shake it down to 0.215 to try and usurp Jason Farmer as he gives it that extra little bit of gas? He's down to 0.24, 0.25. This is a great one, right down to the wire. Sean Skitter giving it everything he can. Got to go through Blanchemont as fast as possible. Flat on the gas, giving it all that he can. Punching his way through into the bus stop. Down the gears, second, first. Hooks it into the right. Hooks it into the left. Flat on the gas. Come on, Honda. Bite, bite, bite. As he goes and screams it through to the line. Can he usurp it? He does. He does with a 2:17.2. Gets Jason Farmer's time right on the last lap. What a stellar, stellar drive. Louis Tricot will go and round out. Oh my, oh me, oh my. We are here for the second last round of the championship for the simGT3 round 5 of 6 for our 2026 second half of our season for the year. It's absolutely wonderful to be here at SimRace South Africa. Massive welcome to you all. And if you just missed out on qualifying, I suggest you go and rewind to the last lap as Sean Skitter managed to usurp Jason Farmer of that pole position right on the final lap. And I can tell you, if you're looking for the funny bone in your knee, it's really there, especially when you put a table in the way of it. It really is an interesting sensation to have running through. But our driver's looking to have a solid run here. Sean Skitter, Jason Farmer out on the front row will be looking for a solid charge and seeing what exactly can they do to stay in for the fight. They will have to go and battle out with Ruin Heineke and Sean Lerero, the two that are challenging for the championship, are sitting lying in third and fourth, looking to try and push past Farmer and Skitter, our top 5, literally on top of one another, looking to try and have a solid run for the championship. This is going to be a wild one. This is going to be an exciting one, but it can also turn into an absolute nightmare for our competitors who are looking to really ramp it up, to see what they can do, as our safety car will be on the way and our leaders will be allowed to go. And let's go through our grid as they start making their way through. It's going to be a 1 hour, 30-minute race right here at the beautiful circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. And it's going to be Sean Skitter in first position. Second place, Jason Farmer, along with Ruin Heineke, Sean Lerero, both fighting out for the title, tied in points. Who's going to get the start on them? Right behind, in the orange, though, is going to be Jeffrey LaRue and Chris Heineke, looking to put the fight on one another. A little bit further back, Jason Luck out in the Lion Speed GP colours. He's out there with the Porsche. Ulrich Diaga will be chasing him down in the BMW. Timothy Gnomes will be going and following through in 9th position. Wolford Robertson in that top 10. A little bit further down, Tyron Myberg in 11th with Anthony Monitz holds on for 12th. Then we've got Jochen Ortman looking to try and fight it out. He's got Chris Van Sale. Michael Hassenbroek will be chasing him down and seeing what he can do. It's interesting. Michael, same colours as Ulrich Diaga's car? Question mark? Well, we'll have to just keep an eye on that one. Lebet Mankies sits with 16th position. Kurt Swart holds on for 17th. Louis Trickart a little bit further back. Franz Bernardi holds on for 19th. And then we got Vimpy Mankies for the Quacker team down in 20th. 21st is going to be Hannes Kruger. And one car starting from pit lane is going to be Gideon Bernardi. Gideon back in for the drive. The Lexus going and pitching up a little bit late to the race, but going to be out on the circuit, so not able to warm up the tyres. Will be looking to try and get flat onto the gas and carry his way through. It's a long pit lane he's going to have to try and contend with, but he's also going to be keeping a very close eye on what's happening at the start, see if he can pick up some positions if there is a problem, if there is a little bit of a tripping up that goes on. But Sean Skitter, the pressure's on. Once leading the championship, now having to try and pull it back from the brink. Jason Farmer, a driver that has wanted to lead the championship, just hasn't had the luck working on his side, will be fighting out. Behind them, Ruin Heineke and Sean Lerero. No team orders. They're going to fight it out tooth and nail for that top spot. They know it's critical for the championship point. Our drivers making their way around the circuit, slowing down, as we did see Skitter come to a halt right at the corner, just trying to allow the field to back up onto him and see if he can try and get everyone in formation. They've got to slow each other up, get into formation side by side. So it's a double file formation at 70 kilometers an hour, and they will be line astern coming over to the line. You will have this radar system that allows you to point out in the blocks where you need to be. If you're a little too fast or a little too slow, you can land up with a penalty, a drive-through penalty incurred by the sim, saying, hey, listen, you broke the rules there, buddy. Enjoy a nice drive through the pits. And as I said, from entrance to exit, 72 seconds, which is well over a minute for those that aren't quite sure. And, well, it's going to be a warm circuit. The track itself at the moment, you're looking at a beautiful 21 degrees Celsius, as it is going to be a nightmare of a case, but it is looking at roughly about 25 air temperature. Drivers will have to contend with that, knowing that there's going to be a little bit of a tough time out there. Shout out to Earloft94 going in and saying, how's it? Wonderful to have you out there and being part of the show. Quick flash of the lights coming in from Sean Lerera. A bit of a cheeky one to Jason Farmer saying, listen, eyes forward, get a good start, help me out here, and don't let your, well, teammates going and usually helps you out with the Ferrari and Enduros. Don't let him go and stuff me up here. Sean Skitter will be leading out the pack as they make their way through to Les Combes. This is going to be the interesting part. It's double file formation for our drivers looking to get a phenomenal run. And we'll keep an eye on everyone, especially mid-grid is where it usually concertinas up, heading into Eau Rouge and where the mistakes happen. So Ulrich Diaga and Timothy will be sitting, scratching their heads. This is kind of a position you really not sure if it's helped you or isn't going to help you as our drivers make their way around, looking for the green. Skitter at the ready. Farmer to his left. Who's going to have the run into Eau Rouge as the lights go on? Jim's got the flag. Lights on. Lights on. Lights on. Lights on for the second last round of the championship. And green, we are under green as they charge through, all looking rather neat side by side. A great climb up through the mountain. No argy-bargy, a couple of drivers having to utilize a little bit more of the road than they had planned, but ultimately looking like a stellar run. As we do see Chris Heineke launching past, he's trying to move up forward. Ulrich Diaga trying to push on his way, trying to see what he can do late on the break. Sean Skitter into the lead of the race. Farmer cut back, goes side by side with him. The two of them brawling. Ruud Heineke puts his nose forward, tries to see if he can get past Farmer. Couldn't quite get it done. In through the right-hander, late on the brakes. Farmer closes the door, a little bit of a bump into Farmer. Slight bit into Skitter. Skitter brings it back and just able to bring himself back into this race as Ruud Heineke goes on the inside, forces his teammate into the dirt, who's trying to get it back under control. Ruud Heineke shuts the door, late on the brakes, and Farmer rubbing his nose up against the rear bumper of Ruud Heineke. Sean Lerero getting hunted down by Jeffrey LaRue. Chris Heineke and Jason Luck having a go at one another. Luck looked to the inside, couldn't quite get that pass done. Farmer runs out wide, loses out the drive, and is absolutely being swamped right now. Leans on Chris Heineke, forces him off track. Heineke keeps his nose forward. He knows he's under pressure as Jason Luck now tries to take a look as we do see a couple of yellow flags coming through. Ulrich Diaga, unfortunately slow going, gets caught out by the entirety of the field. And now it's going to be Tyron Myberg who's going to have the run on him. Mustang puts down the power, try and make up some momentum. Michael Hassenbrook a little bit further up the road, trying to keep on to the side of Wolford Robertson as they go through Blanchemont. First time in anger, coming across, just all looking line astern. The racing is absolutely phenomenal right now. Ulrich Diaga attacking Michael Hassenbrook down into the bus stop. Got it done. The BMW crawls on forward. Wolford Robertson just ahead of him. Tyron Myberg now trying to have a look at Michael Hassenbrook. He's getting caught out with the colours here and just trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to stay in for the fight? But at the moment, Jason Farmer down to 6th position. He's not going to be happy with that one. Wolford Robertson runs out wide out of Les Combes, loses out that little bit of drive, and now is just absolutely being swallowed up by the BMWs. Gets right back into the slipstream, pulls himself along for the ride, and Tyron left to sit in the back. Hiriam Bernardi comes across the line as he will be the last of our rounders. So at the moment, it is Sean Skitter leading out the pack, trying to push a little bit harder. Ruud Heineke holds off for 2nd place. Sean Lerero up into 3rd. Wants to try and keep his contention for the championship there. He has to keep close to Ruud Heineke or get past Ruud Heineke. Jeffrey LaRue holding on for that 4th place. Looks towards his teammates up ahead, saying, right, guys, whatever fight you have, don't go and count me out of it. Timothy, unfortunately, losing out a bit of time, dropping down into 13th position from 9th. Was a bit slow on the corner, runs out wide. Instantly, Tyrant trying to look for that drive, trying to get a little bit more pace underneath him. Right behind him, we've got Swart hoping to put the pressure on. And that Oxford Distributors Racing Mustang keeps the pressure on the back of him. Lebet Nankies is also there for a bit of comfort as well. Not wanting to have it done, as we do see Tyrant looking for the inside. Fortunately, couldn't quite get late on the brakes enough to get that pass done, and Dustin will have to just settle down, wait for the pace, and try and bring himself back into contention. These drivers still with a hard push, and it's still a very, very long race. They've now got the tyres up to temperature along with the brakes, and we'll be focusing on trying to now keep it up as, oh, Rod Spinardi, big impact into the wall. Not exactly how you want to put your Aston Martin as we jump on board. The Aston Martin V8 AMR, unfortunately, not quite having the race it wanted to have. Swings in through the left-hander, rounding out wide. The rear looking a little bit loose on the exit. He was able to keep it back. And in through the right-hander, all looking okay. Oh, just clipped it onto the dirt and thud into the wall. That's a bit of nose damage, and that's definitely going to be felt as he's going to have to pull it from the brink. We also saw just a couple of minutes ago Timothy running into a very same problem with his Porsche 992 out through Blanchemont, all carrying enough momentum into the bus stop. Tyrant right behind him, trying to go late on the brakes, and Timothy, oh, just lost his brake markers by a country mile. 50-meter board is back there, buddy. Got to try and bring it back. Unfortunately, had to wait for the field to come through. A beautiful rejoin, might I add. 10 points for that one. A stunning, stunning rejoin to get back onto the circuit without interfering too much in people's race. And a great show of drivers knowing what they need to do to try and keep it safe out on circuit. Jason Farmer now trying to keep the drive as we have got yellow flags. And that's Wilfred Robertson. And looks like Michael Hassenbrook. Both of them getting into a bit of an argy-bargy. So the BMW ahead is Michael Hassenbrook, and the Mustang, the white Mustang, is the Eleanor Wilfred Robertson. Tyron Myberg sits on the back of them, trying to see if he can get on by. So Tyron go for the inside, late to the brakes. Oh, Wilfred caught out under braking. Tried to look over to his right-hand side. He went into the back of our unfortunate Michael Hassenbrook. It's thrown all the way down. So Michael, bit of a tough time out there, getting clipped just because it was short-sighted on the braking for Wilfred Robertson. 50-meter board went there, gone. And he had to try and carry on the momentum. Now, Ruan Heineke and Sean Lorero keep each other company for that second and third position. And currently just trying to keep the pressure on as Sean Skitter scurries away. Once again, trying to push as hard as he can. Lorero taking a bit of a chance there. Would have got a warning from race control saying, listen, don't go and do that. You're allowed 3 cuts. You're allowed 3 times that you're allowed to go over the track limits and carrying some speed. By that time, you will score a drive-through, which is an absolute nightmare. A big no-no to have on this circuit. And for any of these drivers, absolutely compromises their chance at the championship. So no one wants to go take that liberty to move forward. And, well, you've got to utilize sometimes a bit of a speed token. Hopefully no bump drafting as they come right up to Eau Rouge. The last thing you want to be is right onto the back of the competitor ahead of you and land up in a world of trouble. Jeffrey LaRue got a solid drive as he's getting bigger and bigger in the rearview mirror of Sean Lorero, looking and brakes early. Jeffrey LaRue brought himself close enough, but instead of going for the attack, prioritizing to just get a solid run out of the corner, see if he can catch up to Lorero. He knows he's applying that pressure there. He knows he can just keep him for the fight. Ruan Heineke keep it close to Sean Skitter. Jason Farmer, 3 seconds adrift from them. Originally started on the front row, now just trying to pick up the pieces of his race. Chris Heineke chasing him down in 6th position. A solid run for them. Wilfred Robertson, however, loses out to Jaco Nortman. Jaco in that McLaren keeps a solid drive, late on the brakes, and it is going to be a tough one. Jaco Nortman having a solid bit of momentum. Gets the drive out of the corner, chasing after the likes of Gert Swart, and Swart, not to be called out at the moment, wants to carry on the drive. He wants to scurry away. Timothy Gnomes, however, now going and putting a bit of pressure on Hannes Kruger. Looks around the outside, late on the brakes, dabs it all the way through, trying to keep it together through Puon. Beautifully done, side by side, both drivers making it through. Absolutely incredible racing and talent being put on show. Not an easy thing to do. Flat out through Puon, and not to go rubbing doors, not to run off track, but just to keep it nice and clean between one another. That's what we love to see. Back up towards the top though. Ruben Heineke and Sean Loureiro swapping out into it. Heineke down into third. Loureiro up into second with Sean Skitter now trying to open up, trying to get away. Ruben Heineke going and saying, right, let's swap it around. Let's see what we can do. You've got a little bit of pace. I'm going to save a bit of fuel now. And Jeffrey LaRue sits right behind them, but I don't want to take away that Jason Farmer has set the fastest lap time of the race at 2:18.1 on that last lap, and he's looking to try and make it work to get a little bit closer. Switching out from 3 seconds, he's managed to take out a second from the likes of Jeffrey LaRue, and will be looking to try and close up at a rate of knots. So we're still seeing an ongoing fight for the top spots, and we still have got a long way to go. Wilfred Robertson trying to dig deep at the moment, seeing Jaco Nordman ahead of him, and just ahead of Nordman is Swart, as yellow flags coming up for Van Sale, who's got massive load of damage to his car. So we're going to quickly take a look at what happened to Van Sale. Late on the brakes, turns it in for the apex, just looking all right there. Ferrari all looking good. Van Sale, who's now spiraled down the order into 18th position, must have had the impact at the top of the hill, through the left, through the right. Steering gets a little bit light, and there it is. Unfortunately, steering got light, the rear kicked out underneath him, and a hard impact into the tyre barrier on the right-hand side, and had to tow it back to pits. Will be falling down the order. Not exactly how he wanted this race to go, but will be able to get that repaired and hopefully get him back out on circuit to push it a little bit harder after a bit of a devastating impact. Jaco Nordman feeling the pressure. Wilfred Robertson down the inside, heading into Puon. Late on the brakes, and what a cut from Jaco Nordman, just chopping off Wilfred Robertson's nose, showing that bit of cheese and wine. Well, go and take a bit of salt on that one. Definitely not what he wants to have there, and that's just like Timothy to get round to the back of him. So a stellar fight happening right now, as it is going to be Swart with a solid push, trying to see what he can do to try and move forward as we jump on the rear wing and take a look back at the McLaren, the Mustang, and the Porsche chasing down the Oxford ATT Racing. Timothy trying to push out a little bit harder to see if he can move his way up through the queue just to get into the battle as they can. Swart managing to open up 0.7 of a second, utilizing a bit of straight line there. Wilfred Robertson under pressure as we do jump on board with him. SimulatorCave.com on the rear wing there, getting a bit of airtime as well for the Alano and cheese and wine. But Timothy outbrakes himself late on the anchors, heading into bus stop, swings around and manages to get the position. Beautiful. That is what we love to see. Took the opportunity, went for the pass, got it done, and now set his eyes on Jaco Nordman further up the field. Great drive on his part, but now has to go from chasing to getting chased, and has to focus on going and chasing again. So it's not out of the woodwork for Timothy at the moment, but that has allowed Swart to open up away from Nordman, who got a little bit of a shell shock from Timothy coming through. So our driver's still putting in a monstrous fight at the moment. Wilfred Robertson going out a little bit wide there, trying to keep his foot in, and through Eau Rouge would have picked up an limit, saying, hey, listen, you're running a bit out of bounds here. Timothy down the inside of Jaco Nordman, trying to get it past, late on the anchor, swings it through, gets the pass done and dusted, but can he carry the momentum onto the apex? Fouls up Jaco Nordman quite a bit there, just knocking him off cam, and what allows Wilfred Robertson to get a stellar exit. Wilfred looks down the inside, late on the anchors, brings it through. Absolutely beautifully done. Wilfred Robertson up into 14th. Jaco Nordman down into 15th. A solid charge from our competitors. Still putting in an absolute run. Now, Jeffrey LaRue, who has been sitting, playing the team game at the moment, sits behind Ruin Heineke, 0.3 of a second. He's slowly been going and eating away into that gap, trying to see if he can get past Ruin Heineke, losing track of Sean Loureiro. Now 1.2 seconds separating them, but also Jason Farmer getting a bit closer. Ruin Heineke defensive through Blanchemont. Not often you get to see that against Jeffrey LaRue, trying to get his elbows out. The two of them obviously now going and saying, look, the race is on. Let's try and push. And unfortunately for LaRue, he's getting held up just a little bit. Yellow flags coming in for Michael Hasselbrook, unfortunately running into a bit of a problem. Let's see if we can go back and find out what exactly happened to Mr. Hasselbrook. Trying to keep it going. Oh, just the rear stepped out on the BMW and spiked it into the wall. Not too bad of damage, but definitely one that he is going to feel on that car. And we'll have to get a bit of repair work. A bit of a crinkle cut chippy right there. Mom said I always wanted to be a Simba chippy. Well, that's one way to go and make it a Simba chippy. Timothy, however, a bit of a foul drive for him coming out of the corner. And let's quickly take a look at what happened there, as he was trying to find it out with Wilfred Robinson and also Kurt Swart ahead of him. So Kurt Swart out in the Mustang, nice and close within sight, gets right underneath him. Did he miss the brake marker again? Oh, yes, he did. Thought he could go in a little bit deep once again, and this is the second time he's fouled himself up. Rejoins the track safely, but just compromises his drive and absolutely gets eaten up by the rest of the field. So not exactly how he wanted his race to go, but that's the second time he's made the same mistake. Going in a little too hot, trying to go a little too quick, and unfortunately gets swallowed up by the field. Now having to try and pull his way through. Luke Trickard also landing up in the weeds, trying to pull himself back. Jaco Nordman trying to give it everything he can. Dives up on the inside of the Porsche. Can he get the drive out? Unfortunately not. Jaco Nordman putting his elbows out there, seeing if he can stay in for the fight. As Swart gets a little bit of a knock from Wolford Robertson. The two of them having a bit of argy-bargy. And now the two Mustangs, who were pulling away, unfortunately falling down the order yet again. We have got more problems. There's Louis Trickart and his teammate Vimpy landing up into the weeds. The Quokka team in the same corner going and landing up with some damage to their cars. Let's quickly take a look at what happened there for Vimpy Mankeys, who was sitting with that is Francis Bernardi on the back of him. He does see the yellow flag, knowing his teammates is there, and the Ferrari just snapped underneath him, unfortunately landing up in a world of trouble. Two of them going and having a bit of a tough time out there, and also running into a bit of a problem here for Timothy, trying to take a look as he was trying to get a solid run, and it looks like he may have picked up a bit of a problem as Timothy was fighting out against Wolford Robertson. The two of them clipped each other and spun around. Oh, darn. And that is a big impact for Hannes Kruger, who got tipped in the rear. Unfortunately, was a casualty of wall there. Landed up spiked into the wall, and that Ferrari needing a little bit of repair work. Timothy went in, got caught on the rear by Wilford Robertson, and unfortunately that landed up with a tip round that changed the entirety of the race. Now back up for lead of the race, Sean Loureiro, a hard charge on his part, has got the pressure onto Sean Skitter, looks to try and get past, late on the anchors, trying to swing it through as Sean Skitter doing everything he can to try and keep it all together. Flick Floyd on the back of the rear wing there of the Honda NSX, now trying to break away from Sean Loureiro of the Griffin Sim Racing team. Keeps his foot firmly in it right now, trying to see if he can close up. Timothy into the pits, will be getting his car sorted out, try and get himself back into this race, see if he can move his way into the top 10 with a bit of an earlier stop. 1 hour and 12 minutes remain, so it's still a very long race for our drivers to really try and find that little bit of time. But our lead now getting a bit close for comfort for Sean Skitter, who originally had a solid power away. Yellow flags coming out for Wolford Robertson, who has got some severe damage to his car by the looks of it. Oh, severe is an understatement on that one, as he was going into the corner, gets on the gas, bounces over the curbing. Oh, just snapped out underneath him. Hard impact into the wall. And there's Jim with the yellow flag saying, how's it? There we go. Got a bit of a broken car. Walford Robertson, who was in a stellar fight, now having to limp that Mustang all the way back to the pits to get some repair work done to it. Try and see if he can get himself back into the race. So Timothy, Vimpy, Louis Tricot, all heading into the pits as Jason Farmer manages to get past Ruan Heineke. Gets the chase on to Jeffrey LaRue ahead. Heineke starting to fall down the order there. Not going to be too happy. Going to see what is he going to do. But a hard charge for the lead. Sean Lerero trying to see if he can get past at the moment. Really getting on the power as he makes his way into Eau Rouge. He's going to get light on the steering on the top here because he's in that slipstream. Got to be careful for the rear not to step out. Was able to bring it back. 240, 250 as he keeps his foot firmly down on the throttle. Trying to keep a little bit of slipstream to Skitter, who's not breaking away. Down the gears he goes. Skitter managing to hold the line just that little bit longer, but LaRue and Farmer making the way through. Farmer gets on the inside. LaRue gets past, as we saw in the rearview mirror. Now it's going to be an interesting one. Jason Farmer heading back towards the front row where he once started. Now having to try and pull back from the brink. The only driver that has done their pit stop is Timothy after a little bit of damage to his car. He will be trying to get himself sorted. Hannes Kruger also a bit of repair work to the car. Pulls into the pits now. Unfortunately for the Quacker Racing team, both cars are in the pits and yet to come out onto the circuit. So Vippy Mankeys and Louis Tricot waiting for their cars to get out. So Vippy actually does get onto the circuit. Will be going and completing. Walford Robertson into the pits with that major repair work needed on that Ford Mustang as it limped its way back to the glue factory there. Unfortunately, not exactly how you want your car to go and get itself sorted out. Guerrero trying to push a little bit harder. Ruan Heineke trying to make up a bit of time as well to LaRue. Keep that championship hopes alive as they're having to really think about it right now. Ruan Heineke and Sean Lerero sit on the same points as one another, but Sean Skitter, who holds on to third place, is going to be maximizing his points to try and keep him for the fight. He's looking for a solid drive here, and ultimately it's going to be who is the last of the late breakers, who can push that a little bit longer in the race, and see who can stay at the top. So Ruan Heineke, once again, trying his luck. 70 points if you get first. Second place gets 67 points. Third gets 64 points. Fourth is 61. And the top five gets you 58 points in this race. So our drivers sitting with 70 points on the line here, not wanting to be caught out. They will be thinking about this race in the long haul, what they can do. Louis Tricot stopping at pit exit, just allowing the cars to go through as they come out on the racing line. As he just gently gets himself rolling. He knows he's not for any problems right now. Doesn't want to get in the way and interfere with anything. So well done on his part. It's just being a gentleman. Don't have to do it. But knowing the drivers are coming through the corner as fast as they can on the racing line, which happens to be exactly where the pit lane is. So the last thing you want to do is try and put yourself out there and run into a world of problems. Sean Lerero, once again, keeps the pressure on Skitter, trying to see where he can come on by. Jason Farmer holds on to that third place, really trying to pull his way through the brink. At the moment, Lorero's in a good spot to try and hold on to the lead of the championship as he's got Skitter and Farmer around one another, and also he has managed to open up just enough gap to Ruan Heineke to go and open it up for that final round of the championship. Walford Robertson need to do some repair work. Hannes Kruger as well, still in pit lane, needs to get back out on track to carry on. Timothy leads out those that have done their pit stops and will be continuing further. So at the moment, it's Sean Skitter, Sean Lerero, Jason Farmer, Jeffrey LaRue, Ruan Heineke, Chris Heineke, Jason Luck, Ulrich Diaga, Anthony Moritz in 9th position, and Timothy that's Tyron Myberg holds on to the top 10. Libet Yankees hits on to 11th, with Kurt Swart a little bit further down, and you can see a little bit of damage to the front end of that car. Jakob Nortman holds up for 13th, Michael Assenbrook, Franz Bernardi, a little bit of damage to his Aston Martin. Gideon Bernardi, who started from pit lane up into 16th, with Timothy down in 17th, Pimpy Mankeys, and Walford Robertson out on circuit, and Louis Tricot rounding out the pack so far. Those are the drivers that are still out and racing. Unfortunately, you've seen 2 retirements in this race. Farmer down the inside, gets the pass on Loureiro. Now Loureiro trying to go for the cutback, trying to see if he can get that little bit more of a drive. Sean Skitter nearly had an invitation in through the door. Last thing he wanted to have is a Ferrari going right by him, but it's going to be side by side. And Loureiro backing out through Eau Rouge. Did not want to play nice there, but it was forced to. I think he got side by side. He thought about it, and then there was a call on the radio saying, come on, think about the championship, yeah? Don't go and take the risk. Not right now. He backed out, allowed Farmer to retake, but that has now given Jeffrey Leroux a bit of a second win to get in for the fight. Jason Luck up on the inside. Oh, door to door with Chris Heineke. Chris having to go off circuit. Luck coming off the throttle allows him to retake that position, but it was a bit of a dive to get it done. Unfortunately, understeer crept into the car, and that was all she wrote to them. Banging a bit of door, sharing their wing mirrors and altering it as they go by. Some great racing at the moment. Farmer trying to get a solid drive against Skitter. Doing everything he can. Back to where he started. Back on the front row. But Sean Loureiro and Leroux trying to keep the pressure on him. We'll be trying to get that little bit more of a pace underneath. Also, try and get a little bit of tow. You could save a bit of fuel here and get pulled along. As Skitter, once again, under some serious pressure with Farmer. These two, every time they share the track, doesn't matter where you go, doesn't matter which league, doesn't matter which part of the world, they will find each other and they will give each other a bit of a rough time out here. The two teams are widely known for their rivalry as, oh, Skitter hooks it over the curb, trying to get ahead of Farmer. Skitter late on the brakes, and take a look at Loureiro. Absolutely outbrakes himself. So does Skitter. Farmer trying to go through contact with Farmer, and it's just a bottle up. Skitter goes into the side of Farmer, bottles him up. Leroux gets caught out in it as well as Sean Loureiro gets caught out. It is a brawl for second place. Farmer down the inside, trying to get that late on the anchors. Gets a bit of momentum out there. Loureiro down to third. Leroux onto the back of him, and take a look who's joined the party. Rune Heineke comes in for the attack yet again. Sean Loureiro not going to be too impressed with that. Leroux going off circuit, gets himself back, but he's carrying a lot of momentum. Swings around the outside. Sean Loureiro trying to close the corner. See what he can do to fight out against Jeffrey Leroux. He's going to go late on the anchors. Try and get in through the right-hander. Does get the nose forward. Carries the momentum a little too much. Gets it done. Slows up Sean Loureiro. That's Rune Heineke, who had to really come off the throttle. Get a little bit of snap oversteer on him. Sean Loureiro now sweating bullets. Trying to bring it back. Jeffrey Leroux fouls him up on the apex here. Leroux is showing no love to his teammates. He is saying, guys, if you're going to fight this out, you're going to have to do it properly. And I'm going to have a ton of fun in doing this because, well, Jeffrey Leroux lies in 14th position. He's trying to get points on Kurt Swart, Hannes Kruger, Franz Spinardi, Tyron Myberg, Anthony Mertz, Timothy Gnomes. He's trying to push as hard as he can. This is great position for him. But he's also got a solid fight right now against his own teammates to see how he's going to keep this going. The Bitmanke's trying to move up forward. He's got Jakob Nortman just ahead of him. The two of them having a stellar fun. Fortunately, Kurt Swart a little too far to reach. Chris Heineke catching up to Luck at the moment. Jason looking to try and pull away from the pack and see what he can do. Timothy still holds those leading that have done their first pit stop, along with Fimpy Mankeys, Wilfred Robinson and Louis Treccott. Was not to their choice to get it done and dusted. However, that was under circumstances. All they could do is try and bring it back from the brink. Rune Heineke running out wide to Sean Loureiro. 0.2 of a second separating them. The Ferrari trying to go late on the anchors, utilising a little bit of that mid-engine rotation to try and get him going. However, it is the BMW that was able to get on the gas a little bit earlier. So Loureiro holds on to that fourth place. Farmer trying to get onto the back of Sean Skitter, who's starting to leg it away from him again. Sean Skitter has these absolute flyers, but then loses out time. Farmer has set the fastest lap time of the race, which is quite close to what his qualifying time was. Remember, his qualifying time, he sat with a 2:17.6. He sits with a 2:17.9 at the moment. So an incredibly quick time by Jason Farmer, who has still got a little bit more pace underneath him to try and pull it back from the break. And with Skitter just within arm's reach, he's going to do what he can at the moment, try and bring it back as we jump on board, carrying a lot of momentum. Third gear through the left-hander, holds it all the way, trying to get onto the power as they will make their way down the hill now. This is where it gets tricky. Didn't want to go up. He wanted to bring it right on the rev limiter and just try and save a bit of time. Flicks through the gears just to get himself that little bit of momentum. Now through Speaker Corner, bit of understeer creeping in on both cars. Oh, Farmer having to catch the car and started getting unsteady underneath him. And once again, trying to keep a solid drive. 0.4 of a second separates these two as they fight out for first and second place. Then we got Chris Heineke and Jason Luck. They've got 0.7 of a second separating them. Jakob Nortman and Kurt Swart going and pushing as hard as they can. The Oxford Distributors car not going and losing a bit of time as they start to push a little bit more. The drivers start to feel it a bit, as this requires a bit of stamina, and also now it starts to wander. You're getting that first half an hour done and dusted. How's the car feeling? How's the tires feeling? And whether you're going to be changing out those tires come the pit stop, or are you going to try and leg it on one set of tires? It's been done before. Let's see if it's going to be done yet again. Jason Farmer right onto the back of Sean Skitter. He tried to look for the inside. Skitter back to the middle of the circuit. Solid defense. Creeps in. Door to door. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two of them. Farmer takes the lead of the race. And it's going to be Skitter flat on the gas. Try and get that momentum. But Farmer now leads out. Farmer from lap 1 has been fighting. Skitter drops down to second place. Jason Farmer now leads. And that's just allowed Jeffrey LaRue to close up from third place. He has an opportunity to get in for the fight. Sean Rivera a little bit further back, trying to pull his way from the brink. And Heineke trying to chase him down 1 second behind. So solid drive from our competitors. Sean Skitter, mighty quick through Radion. And unfortunately, that is going to foul him up. And once again, loses out yet another position. Got a little bit feisty through the corner. Car got unsettled and loses out. LaRue up into second place. Skitter down into third. Farmer starting to open up. He's starting to feel that the pressure's getting taken off him. And Sean Loureiro saying welcome back to the clutches of the BMW, as the Honda now is right in front of him. Loureiro looking to try and push that a little bit harder and see if he can get into the fight, as we do have a bit of a fight out. Fimpy Mankeys and Wilfred Robertson going and swapping out positions between one another. Still a charge from our competitors out on the circuit, all trying to give it that last little bit of a push. See what they can do. Hardest charger at the moment is Kylian Bernardi out there in the Lexus, the Bernardi Alphabet Racing. Having a stellar time. Up 7 positions since he started the race. Started from pit lane and has continued to just keep ticking on by. Fastest of the cars, though, is actually tied between drivers, and one of it being the Ford Mustang of Tyron Myberg on 274 kilometers an hour. A little bit further up the road, the BMW of Aston Martin with a drive-through penalty. Chris Heineke, our first driver to get a penalty at 274 kilometers an hour, and first to get a drive-through penalty. Jeffrey LaRue, 274, and Jason Farmer, 274 kilometers an hour. So, drive-through penalty. How on earth did you get that? Well, you got one 3 times 4 track limits, and, well, you got the wooden spoon handed to you as well. Now, you're going to have to serve that very, very long drive-through. That's going to be absolutely brutal to have for Chris Heineke. Not exactly how he wants it to go. Sean Skitter fighting out against Loureiro, doing everything he can to try and bring it back from the brink. As they fight on by. Jakob Nortman, once again, keeps the pressure on Swart, trying to see what he can do to get past. Not going to be an easy one. That the the McLaren fighting out against the Mustang as they battle on through. See how Swart just maintains his line. He's not too concerned to get too defensive right now. Just wants to try and keep it all together. Focus on a clean exit and clean entrance to corners. Doesn't want to upset the car as, Jakob Nortman having a big lift out of Blanchemont to try and keep that car tame and under wraps. Sean Loureiro giving a go around the outside, gets the pass done on Skitter. Skitter trying to apply the pressure right back onto him. Will swing around the outside. Can he go for the undercut? He's trying, but just couldn't get the nose underneath the BMW. That's allowed Ruben Heineke to get in for the party. So Loureiro over the curbs he goes, trying to push it that little bit harder. Skitter applies the pressure. He knows he needs to try and force Sean Loureiro into a mistake to try and get past right now. And also with Ruben Heineke right on his tail, he does not want to make mistakes as Heineke runs out wide. That understeer coming out of Puan, starting to foul him up and also causing a little bit of havoc. 56 minutes to go, and whoever's saved tyres, well, you're going to have a good time out there. For those that haven't, well, it's going to be a very, very long race for you, as they got one mandatory pit stop that needs to be done, but they have a choice to whether to swap out tyres, but that is up to the driver. You want to swap out tyres? Yes, no, no. All right, keep going. Otherwise, for those that are wanting to go and swap out tyres, you're more than welcome to do it. The only thing about the pit stop that you have to do, park it in the red square, dead on straight, let the car go up on the jacks once, 1 litre of fuel in, drop it off the jacks, and head back out onto the circuit. That's all that you have to do. If you go skew into the box, they have to jack you up, move you, put you down, jack you up again. That will not count as a pit stop, and unfortunately can be one that is detrimental to a race. We've seen it happen before. Chris Heineke still going that little bit further, now just pulls into the pits, serve his drive-through penalty. He had 3 laps to serve it, and well, he's managed to get it done and dusted. Jakob Nortman looks around the outside of Gert Swart, couldn't quite get it done. The Betmankey's trying to have a go at him. Not having an easy time out there. Will be trying to figure out what he can do. Yaku tries to look for the inside line. Looking to try and outbrake him. Late on the anchors. Swings it. Oh, unfortunately, the McLaren just not able to get underneath that Ford Mustang. And will be a little too far back out of striking distance into the bus stop. The Betmankey's, however, tries to do it. Swart sunk it in a little too deep, but that's cost him time and cost him a position. Jakob Nortman managing to get that pass done. Swart down a position. Looks like the Betmankey's going to try and have a look down into the hairpin. Hard on the brakes. Couldn't quite get that car sorted. Tried his luck, but it is going to be Swart a little bit of a slow exit against Jakob Nortman. And unfortunately, losing some time yet again. Chris Heineke still trundling down pit lane as he just gets off the button now and can rejoin the race. He's going to have to build up that speed up the hill again, but sees his fighting trio get right past him. He's got a bit of work ahead of him to try and pull back into this race. So from a stellar run in the Aston Martin, it's all gone downhill as Wimpy Mankey is getting overtaken by Sean Loureiro, Sean Skitter, and Heineke all having a clean pass. Wimpy Mankey's minded out the way. He says, listen, not my fight, not going to get involved in this one. You guys go and duke it out and try and keep it together. But that means that the next one that's going to be up the road is going to be Wolford Robertson. That's going to have to keep a very close eye for Jason Farmer, Jeffrey LaRue, and Sean Loureiro, bringing all in sundry with him to try and bring it back from the brink. So Sean Loureiro doing what he can. Skitter and Heineke hard push onto one another. Tries to look around the outside, looks around the inside, can't get on the power too early. Heineke once again just seeing an opportunity here to try and move forward. Sean Loureiro at the moment lying in 3rd place is going to be pretty happy with some points in the bag for him, as he will be scoring 64 points at the moment. To Ruben Heineke sitting in 5th will score 58. That means that Loureiro is going to have a little bit of a climb and have a solid hold on the championship heading into the final round. But he's got to try and maximize that run, as they're going to give it that little bit more of a push to see what they can do. The Betmankey's, however, trying to get a little bit of a drive in the Ferrari up against Gert Swart, who's in the Ford Mustang lying a little bit up the road, trying to push as hard as he can to get it done and dusted. A solid drive right now into the bus stop. Down the gears he goes, absolutely pushing as hard as he can to try and get some momentum underneath him. Can't quite get that drive as yet. will have to wait it out just a little bit longer. See if he could get a little bit more pace underneath him. Ultimately, a tough race indeed to try and get a solid bit of momentum. Mankey's once again trying his luck down out of the slipstream. Wants to keep on the racing line. He does know that Hertzwart's got a little bit of top end damage and will be trying to see if he can bring himself that little bit closer. But at the moment, Timothy still leads out those that has done the pit stop and got that sorted out. The Bet Mankey's trying to look around the outside, switches to the inside, back to the outside. He is trying to bait and switch and move from Hertzwart, who was not having it right there, into the braking zone. As Gideon Benani now into the pits, allows his brother to come on through. So Franz Benani will be taking up that 15th position. Gideon down in 16th, trying to get his pit stop done and dusted. So far, fastest lap of the race is 2:17.9, set by Jason Farmer, who leads the race. Jeffrey LaRue holds on to second place at the moment, pulls into the pits. An interesting call out of the top 5. Sean Lorero comes in, Skitter goes, Ruben Heineke into the pits, Jason Luck goes, Ulrich Diaga, is he going to pull into the pits? Now we are starting to see an interesting take here. Ruben Heineke going for an undercut. Ulrich Diaga is going to stay out and go a little bit longer in this race. Anthony Moritz is going to be the next one to consider whether he pits now or pits later, as it's coming down to the wire. 15 minutes to go, and depending on how much you got left in the tank here and how these cars are feeling, Anthony's got to keep on going run. So LaRue and Heineke pull in to the pits out of the top 5, just releasing Sean Lorero and Sean Skitter to try and open up the gap. They will try and make up some time. The question is, are they going to put a fresh set of boots on those cars, or are they going to focus on getting a bit of fuel and back out onto the circuit? As the drivers will be considering their options during the course of this race. They need to be very critical on what they're going to do to try and move forward. The Bet Mankey's looks on the inside of Chris Heineke through the right-hander, couldn't quite get it done, and both of them going to continue on this race with Kurt Swart just up ahead, also continuing on. Timothy is going to be the one to keep an eye out for here, as he has been so far the trend setter of those that have done their pit stops. He's ahead of Gideon Benardi, but he's a little too far back from our top 10 of LaRue and Ruben Heineke, who will be then taking over the lead of those that have already done their pit stops and ultimately have a chance to stay in for this fight. Kurt Swart trying to keep it all together, gets caught out as he's onto the back of one of our Ferraris, and that looks to be Louis Trichart just ahead of him. Yes, it is. Mr. Trichart going and just keeping out of trouble, sticks to the left-hand side as it's out braking, and Chris Heineke sends it up on the inside, and unfortunately that did not look like it wanted to be this thing, unfortunately for Louis Trichart. Well done to him though, the Quacker Racing managing to just climb on the anchors. He foresaw a problem as Chris Heineke yet again becoming a Scud missile into the corners and getting quite aggressive in his overtakes. Dives down the inside of Swart, got that pass done and dusted, but man oh man, just going in late braking, sends it from a bit back and just forces his competitors out of the way. Says, listen, it's either going to be your door or it's going to be a position. Pick one. And well, so far drivers have been keeping cooler heads. Kurt Swart losing out a little bit of time there, a little bit rattled after losing out to Heineke, trying to close the door on the Bet Mankey's a little bit later to the braking zone. Mankey's trying to bring his way back into this race. So for Chris Heineke, he is absolutely sending it wherever he can to try and make those passes, trying to force a way through as Anthony Moritz pulls into the pits. He will be serving his pit stop, trying to get himself sorted out, and will be rejoining out of the race. The Bet Mankey's trying to move forward against Swart. The two of them side by side as the Bet Mankey's once again holds the inside line, but it is going to be Swart. Swings it out wide. Fortunately, will pick up a bit of a off track there. Not exactly how he wants it to go. The Bet Mankey's trying to get his way through as Kurt Swart pulls into the pits. He is further joined by Jakob Nordman into the pits, but we do have a interesting tell as it looks like Anthony Moritz has landed up out of this race. So Anthony, for whatever reason, has exited the race and has dropped way out of the top 10. Not what we wanted to see from the Oxford Distributors. Hopefully they can find out what was the cause of the problem in the car, and they can get that car back on track to continue on with the race. So hopefully with Anthony and his team there, they'll be able to get that car sorted out, chuck in whatever spares they need to, and continue on with the race out on the circuit. Going to be a tough time. Going to be a very tough time to try and make up some positions, but it's all about getting some points for the championship. And if you start and you see the green, you need to see the checkered. You need to see it through all the way through. I mean, this second last round of the championship, last thing you want to do is be setting it out right at the end. As we do see Short Skitter once again putting pressure on Sean Herrera. 6 seconds up the road though as Jason Farmer opened up the lead to these two. Jason Luck just pulled into the pits, so he's getting himself sorted out. Ulrich Diaga, is he going to opt to pull into the pits, or is he going to continue a lap longer? Looks like he's going to go into the pits as well. So Jason Luck going and being first to the dominoes to go and knock down. Pulls into the pits. Tyron Myberg trying to keep a solid drive. So at the moment, it is Jason Farmer, Sean Lerero, and Sean Skitter that currently hold on to the top 3. Luck and Ulrich Diaga just got into the pits, which means Tyron Myberg's got a choice here, whether to pull into the pits or is he going to go that little bit longer. He opts to get into the pit lane. Chris Heineke pushing it as hard as he can. Remember, Jeffrey LaRue is now the mark. That is the driver to be ahead of when you get your pit stop done and dusted. And will be a solid drive for him to try and move up through the order. Was playing him originally for the top 3. Now trying to pull his way back from the brink at the moment with Ruben Heineke looking for the undercut on his own teammate Sean Lerero to try and fight out for the championship and see what he can do for a solid run. And we have got it. Anthony is back in. Anthony is back in. And that is what we love to see. Absolutely great stuff. See a driver getting back into the race. Might be down on his luck in terms of positions, but it's good to see him back in. Back behind the wheel. That never give up attitude is exactly what we here in South Africa love. That is who we are. We get in, we see it through till the very end. Whether it be a bitter end or not, we go and fight our way through. And right here at SimRace South Africa, it is exactly that. Push yourself out a little bit more. Get out of your comfort zone. And if it starts to look a little bit bad, work harder. Wimpy Mankeys going very slow around the corner. There is something severely wrong with that car. He's on his pit limiter. Wimpy Mankeys is stuck on his pit limiter. Wimpy Mankeys was trapped on his pit limiter. That is a strange one. Usually we try and figure out what's going on, but it looks like he's managed to tow that car back to the pits, but he was stuck on his pit limiter for a long time there. It's been crawling around and not quite having an easy time, as we do see Tyron Myberg and Michael Hassenbrook into the pits. Anthony Moritz is in the pits waiting to be released. Sean Skitter carries on, but Lerero carries his way through the pits. So this is an interesting call for Sean Lerero, as Chris Heineke is having a bit of pressure from Lebet Mankeys. But the question is he going to get out ahead of Ruben Heineke, his own teammate, to find out? Now, Chris will be relaying some information back to Ruben Heineke, saying, right, he's in the pits, let's go. Let's try and push up through the order here. Let's try and make it work as the drivers keep their way through. So far, though, 5 drivers here to do the pit stop, as Anthony Moritz will have to go back in the pits to get himself sorted out. He disconnected, reconnected, but he didn't get his pit stop serve. He will have to serve that pit stop to get it out of the way. But so far, Jason Farmer, Sean Skitter, Chris Heineke, and Lebet Mankeys are the only drivers that have yet to do their pit stop and go through the pits. Chris Heineke pulls into pit lane just to chop it down to 3, as Lebet Mankeys will be moving up through the order. He's going to be more than happy on that one. Sean Lerero holds on to 3rd. Jason Farmer going that little bit longer into the race. 20 laps in. 42 minutes left in this race. Round 5 out of 6 for the SimRace South Africa simGT3. And an absolute wonder to see these drivers pushing as hard as they can. Everyone leaving nothing to chance right now, putting it all on the line and trying to see if they can maximize their points. So far, a great improvement in lap time for Limit Mankey's actually seeing his personal best, a 2:21.0 on that last lap. He's going to be quite happy to get that one done and dusted. Ruin Heineke also a personal best of a 2:18.5 on that last lap. So he's a personal best for the race. Wonderful to see as now Farmer into the pits. This is an interesting one. Skitter carries on. So Skitter is going to carry on, giving it a hard push to see if he can go a little bit deeper into this race. Farmer going and opting to pull in the pits. Now Skitter has to try and open up that gap. He's going to have to really see what he can do to get it done and dusted. And ultimately, that's going to be a hard drive to try and see how far up the road he can really push it to make it work out for him. At the moment, our driver's thinking a little bit more. So far, Sean Skitter's been in that car for well over 49 minutes in this race, heading on to 50 minutes without pulling into the pits. And that's going to be keeping him well in check at the moment, trying to open up the gap to the likes of Jason Farmer, who will be working on a solid charge to try and bring himself back from the brink. So Skitter hoping that he's going to get that drive and hopefully for the undercut. Wilfred Robertson managing to get past Wimpy Mankeys, who seems like he's got himself off the pit limiter. Wimpy hasn't had the easiest of races, but still circulating, which is absolutely wonderful to see. Keeping a solid drive out there, and Wimpy still trying to keep himself together. Farmer, Moritz, and Lebet Mankeys into the pits. Gideon Bernardi out there in the Lexus, going and dealing with the likes of Jeffrey LaRue, going to swing around the outside. He does bring that Lexus to a very slow crawl through the hairpin, just to try and allow LaRue through. And Sean Loureiro now trying to close up that gap and see if he can get involved with the fight as well. Gideon Bernardi, who started out in pit lane, now trying to bring it back from the brink. There we see Anthony Moritz getting himself sorted it out and will be hoping to get back out, joining into the race. A little bit of pressure coming in from Sean Loureiro onto the back of Gideon, saying, listen, buddy, I've got to utilize that toe a little bit, if you don't mind, on the V8. And does see that Gideon did dab the brakes just a little bit down the straight to allow him to come through to get that pass done and dusted. Ruin Heineke is going to be the next one, filling up his rearview mirror, trying to see where he can get it done and dusted. So, down to one driver to get his pit stop done and dusted. That is going to be Sean Skitter. No pressure, as he has to try and keep away from Jason Farmer. Ruin Heineke down the inside. Gideon giving him the little bit of room there. Says, there we go, buddy. Have a good one and keep up the drivers. Oh, Ruin Heineke nearly made an absolute hash of it, going and sliding the car around. Gideon actually tried to dive out of the way, nearly pasting it into the side of the Ferrari. I'm sure a few words have been said underneath that helmet from Gideon's side of, listen, buddy, I just gave you the room. And suddenly Ruin Heineke getting very squirrely on the exit and was battling to get that car back in check. Not what you wanted to have, and ultimately a tough drive all the way through. I mean, this has been a real solid fight. As Wimpy Mankeys, bit of a slow going and a little bit of damage to the car as well. So Wimpy having a night to forget. Lebet Mankeys, however, gets back out onto the circuit after his pit stop, where he joins in 12th position. And the only driver left out on the circuit to get into the pits is this man here, Sean Skitter from Logistical Nightmare Racing, trying to go that little bit longer into the race, knowing that Farmer is onto the back of him. At the moment, he is 1 minute 29 seconds ahead of Jason Farmer, which is going to be a bit of a tall ask. If Farmer can really put the pedal to the metal here, might be able to get ahead of Sean Skitter on the pit stop, but he's got to make sure that he doesn't run afoul of any problems, otherwise he will land up spiraling down the order. Sean Herrero needs to get ahead of Jeffrey LaRue, trying to put a bit of space in between himself and Ruin Heineke to try and help out for the championship. See if he can stick in for the fight. Jeffrey LaRue, he's 14th in the championship, might I add. He is playing a bit of a joker card here against Jason Farmer, Sean Skitter, Sean LaRue, and Ruin Heineke. So Sean Skitter now dives into the pits and will be getting called in as Skitty, called by his team, gets into the pits and ultimately will now be keeping a very close eye on the relative as Jason Farmer will be hunting down the time to see if he can try and pull it back from the brink. 36 minutes left of this race, and the driver's still giving it a hard push down to the wire. Everyone looking to try and run in a little bit deeper, a little bit longer, and see what exactly they can do to make it work out in their favor. But Farmer, looking to carry that number one on the door, will have to try and get not only a win here tonight, but yet another win, and hope for an absolute nightmare of a run for his competition heading into the final round, which will be at Bathurst on the 27th of July, the final round of the Sim Race South Africa simGT3 of 2026. It's our second season of the year, and we've got tons more information coming through. You can find it all out on simGP. Just head over to simGP or join our Discord to keep an eye out on all the action happening here at Sim Race South Africa. There's tons and tons coming through the woodwork, and you do not want to miss it. So, Skitter to the pits, 32 seconds separating them. Skitter still waiting to exit pit lane. Jason Farmer climbing his way through, 25 seconds. It looks like Skitter's going to lose out that top spot. Not rolling, and here comes Farmer. Farmer's going to get through the hairpin. He's going to be more than happy with this one. Sean Skitter is not rolling, and this is going to be Farmer retaking the lead of the race. Farmer will retake the lead of the race away from Sean Skitter, who tried to go that little bit longer, tried to make it work out for him. Unfortunately, was not able to get it done and dusted. Sean Skitter does get off the pit limiter, but he gets overtaken by Jeffrey LaRue. Now sits nearly 2 seconds adrift, and here comes Sean Herrero to add a bit of pressure into it. Sean Herrero around the outside. Sean Skitter now drops down to 4th position. Ruin Heineke behind him, and Sean Herrero are top 3 in the championship. Now sitting with Sean Herrero, who's 1st in the championship. Sean Skitter, who is 3rd in the championship, and Ruin Heineke, who's 2nd in the championship, round one another, and they're going to be focusing on their attack. They have to really keep an eye on each other instead of focusing too far up the road. They're 3 seconds drift from Jeffrey LaRue, and Jason Farmer is heading 4 seconds up the road from there. Sean Herrero with a lot of pressure at the moment to try and make it work out for him as he tries to open up the gap to Sean Skitter behind. Jumping on board with the BMW, trying to claw his way through. Ultimately, down through the gears, trying to just get that little bit of momentum with Sean Skitter, trying to get a bit of heat into the tyres to get himself going yet again. Remember, he had to wait out a little bit there to get himself sorted out, but unfortunately hasn't been an easy time for him. Drivers looking to try and focus on a solid charge right now to really push forward. Ultimately, having to think of a way to move up the order without too many problems. Jason Farmer leading out this race. Now just needs to focus on a solid drive, keeping it clean and neat to try and maximize his points in the championship. 70 points would be gifted to him, and that will help bump him up from the standings. So it's going to be quite a good thing for Jason Farmer, who will set up the order. I'll try and do a little bit of calculation here. I'm not very good at it, but hopefully we can get some sort of idea of who sits where come the end of this race between Jason Farmer, Sean Herrero, Sean Skitter, and Ruin Heineke. So Jason Farmer lies in 4th place on 235 points, and he's going to get 70 points for victory here, which will bring him up to 305. Jot it down somewhere. Try and figure out. I will jot it down on a notepad, or I'm going to send a message. So this is going to be for Farmer, who sits on 305. Okay. So we got 305 for Jason Farmer. Forgive me for trying to do this. I generally would like to try and work this out, and hopefully we'll get it up to a better run. As we see Sean Herrera currently on screen on 262 points. He will be scoring a third place at the moment, which is 64 points for his championship. Now I'll bring him up to 326. It's still a good run for Herrera, for Sean Herrera SL. Scores 326, 326. So a solid run on his part. Right now, as we trying to just work this out a little bit in the standings. I do apologize once again for trying to give a little bit of a look here. Is that we do see the fight with Sean Skitter now putting a bit of pressure onto the back of him. Now Sean Skitter sits on 247 points at the moment. 247 points. Plus at the moment lies in 4th place. And the scoring means that he will be getting... Do not swap positions while I'm not looking. This is not going to be a good one. As two of them breaking into the bus stop, trying to get themselves sorted. Skitter will sit on 308 points. So 308. And then we have got Rune Heineke, who is sitting in 5th place at the moment. It will score 58 points on top of his standings of 262, and he will get 320 points. 320 points. Okay, so bad math aside, and I do apologize for my terrible math and terrible trying to work things out, and always trying to see what we can do. Looking at the championship wise, it will be Sean Herrera leading out on 326 points if it stays the way it stays, with Rune Heineke sitting on 320 points, 6 points behind Sean Herrera. So that's a little bit of breathing room heading into the final round of the championship. Then it will be Sean Skitter holding on to 3rd with 308 points, and Jason Farmer, by finishing at 1st, will have 305 points. He will just be sitting 3 points off the back of Sean Skitter for that 3rd place heading into the final round. There we go, done, dusted. Sorry about that, guys. Just had to really work that out. It was bugging the living daylights out of me. But we'll have to see how the championship goes. Talking about something about the championship, Michael Asselbrook having a good go at third swat, trying to see what he can do. Looks down the inside, couldn't quite get that past out of Dustin, had to wait it out just a little bit longer. Waits on the anchors, trying to bring it back and see what he can do. Ultimately, it is a solid fight between the two of them. No one giving an edge. Michael Asselbrook, however, trying to see if he can get right into the back of Swat. As one of our closest fights out on the circuit. Everyone trying to move up with 28 minutes to go. There's not a lot of time left in this race to try and really put in those absolute flyer laps. But there is still time to try and bring it back from the brink. Everyone trying to see what they can do to try and maximize their pace. Try and see if they can get involved in the fights a little bit further up the field. And ultimately stay in for a solid drive. So ultimately, this is where you go into a bit of autopilot mode, like Jason Farmer right now, who is just trying to maintain his laps. His last lap time, a 2:17.8. Fastest lap time was a 2:17.7. So he's racing the clock right now, just trying to get onto that 2:17 and stay right onto Jeffrey LaRue. Holds 2nd place at the moment, keeping a very close eye on the review mirrors as Sean Herrera trying to close up onto the back of him. So is Sean Skitter. Now, if Herrera gets up into 2nd place, he does stretch out that lead in the championship, and it does take away a few more points away from Rune Heineke, giving him a bit more space for that final race of the championship. These drivers looking for every way to step forward. They are looking for a solid drive right now, and ultimately coming down to the wire, they have to try and maximize the pace to really move forward. These drivers are looking for a solid move. They are looking to try and fight their way up through the order. They're also trying to see who exactly will be the champion at the end of it. At the moment, though, Sean Lerero leads out that championship. He wants to turn that 3 that he's got on the car to a number 1. He came third in season 1 of 2026, and now looking to get a number 1 on the car. Ruben Heineke, who will remain at the moment with that number 2 on the car, will try and fight his way through. And Jason Farmer fighting for that final spot on the podium with Sean Skitter. So it's always a little bit to think about when you're in the car and this late into the championship. A little bit of math working out, trying to position yourself for where you need to be. Vimpy Main Keys, who's a little bit further up ahead. We did see the orange of that Ferrari, the number 20, ahead of these two. Michael Hasbrook onto the back of Swart as they aim down towards Eau Rouge. Through the left, into the right. Steering light is up. Michael with a stellar exit up into 6th. Going to go side by side with the Ford Mustang of Kurt Swart, who's not going to back down. Middle of the circuit though. Kurt's going to go a little bit later on the braking. Sinks it in deep. Trying to compromise the drive of Michael Hasbrook. Gets it done. Two of them having a phenomenal run between one another. Absolutely incredible stuff. And our drivers pushing as hard as they can to move forward. As we do see Michael Hasbrook once again putting in a solid fight, trying to hunt down the back of that Mustang, looking every which way to try and get that pass done and dusted, turning into a bit of a tough one. Looks around the outside, backed out of it, trying to look for the pass, trying to see what he could do. Unfortunately, not enough pace to get it done, and Kurt Swart hangs on by the knife's edge right now. Trying once again to hold the inside line as they go side by side, and it is going to be Michael Hasbrook who's got the advantage into Blanchmont. Swings it out wide. Kurt Swart running over the curb. Little too much there. Will pick up a warning for track limits exceeded. And I do suspect most of the drivers are sitting with the track limits on their third and final warning, trying to figure out what they can do to keep up a solid drive here. Sean Lerero chomping at the bit to get past LaRue, trying to see where on earth can he get that drive to work out in his favor, and if he can get it done and dusted. The two BMWs duking it out now. Sean Lerero gets his pass past Jeffrey LaRue. It's going to help him out in the championship quite a lot to try and move forward. Always an interesting time when it comes to it, and this is going to be Ruben Heineke's nightmare if there's more space between himself and the likes of Sean Lerero for that championship, because at the moment they are right on the back of one another. 6 points if they stay where they are coming into play here, and it may be getting a lot worse for the likes of Ruben Heineke heading into the final round, who's going to have to fight it out tooth and nail to try and push his way forward. Sean Skitter gets it wrong. Sean Skitter has got it wrong. So what has happened to Sean Skitter? This is a fight for the championship and a very, very rare mistake. We get to see how Sean Skitter, who might have sunk it in a little too deep into the corner, on the brakes, swings it through. Oh, the rear stepping out on him. Slow slide into the middle. And that has just compromised him. Here's Ruin Heineke. Skitter had to try and refire the car to get it up and going. And Ruin Heineke now managing to close up the point gap between himself and Sean Loureiro. That is a huge, huge help for Ruin Heineke, who will now score the 4th place points. That is exactly how he wants to try and keep in with the fight. It was 6 points when he was lying in 5th. It's going to be a lot less when he comes into it now, lying in 4th position, right behind Sean Loureiro, who holds on, fighting it out against LaRue. LaRue trying to hold back and really do what he can. The two of them fighting out into the bus stop, and it's going to be Sean LaRue getting past the likes of Jeffrey LaRue. So Sean Loureiro getting past and now trying to do what he can. Sean Loureiro holds the line, forcing his teammate out wide. Does not want to back down. He wants to try and hold this position. If he loses out to Jeffrey LaRue, Sean Loureiro's in for a world of trouble against Ruin Heineke, who is in a proper fight for the championship and is not completely out of it. 262 points. So it'll be 323. 3 points if Ruin Heineke and Sean Loureiro finish right onto the back of one another. And now Jeffrey LaRue is the joker card here. He could be the absolute pits for Sean Loureiro, or he could be a phenomenal run and put a bit of spacing into it. Jason Luck has managed to throw Sean Skitter out of the charts to be into the top 3 heading into the final round. So Jason Farmer will take 3rd place heading into the final race on the 27th at Bathurst at this stage of the game. So Sean Loureiro's really got to reel him in here. Try and see if he can try and bring it back from the brink, because this is a worst case scenario to have the car snap out underneath him and lose out that drive. A little bit further down, another little battle going on that we got to just highlight, because it's always wonderful to highlight our drivers. Lee Trickott out there in the Ferrari hasn't had the most entertaining of races, but he is onto the back of Wilfred Robertson's cheese and wine, trying to move forward and see what he can do to try and bring it back from the brink. Wilfred Robertson had a few issues during the course of this race, but it's not completely out of the running, and Louis Trickott of the Quokka team trying to stay in for the fight and looking to see what they can do. Sean Skitter keeps the pressure on to the back of Jason Luck, looking for any advantage and try and swing around and get past him. Luck doing everything he can. A little bit of a snap oversteer for Sean Skitter. They had to fight the car back, and once again, snapping out underneath him. Those tyres, I think, are absolutely by-gone right now. And Sean Skitter forced to take a little bit of a withdrawn approach, as now Luck opened up the gap by a long mile away from him. Jason Luck going and having a stellar time in that Porsche, going and keeping an eye and saying, right, now that I've managed to dispatch Sean Skitter that little bit more, concentrate on the race and see what I can do to try and bring him back from the brink. Jeffrey LaRue trying to close up to Sean Loureiro, who's chasing down 8 seconds up the road Jason Farmer. So as it stands, Jason Farmer leads the race along with Sean Loureiro up into 2nd place. Jeffrey LaRue holds on to 3rd. Ruin Heineke into 4th. Jason Luck into that 5th place. Sean Skitter along with Ulrich Diaga. Tyron Myberg into 8th. 9th is Chris Heineke along with Timothy Gomes, who holds on to that top 10. Jakob Nortman in 11th position with Levent Nankies trying to chase him down in 12th. Trying to see what he can do out in the Ferrari. Michael Essenbrook holds on for 13th as it stands. Trying to push it a little bit harder with Gert Swart holding on to that 14th. Kylian Bernardi in 15th with Francis Bernardi in 16th. 17th is Wilfred Robertson with Louis Trickard keeping on the pressure and trying to see if he can move up through the order. Anthony Minutes back out on circuit after his disconnect and will be still fighting it out in 19th position. And one driver that's been having a bit of a nightmare from pit limit to being stuck to falling off the circuit. Vimpy Mankies rides out our field. 2 retirements in this race. We started with 22 cars. We're down to 20 cars remaining out on circuit to give it that final push down to the wire. Everyone trying to see what they can do to get this done and dusted. Ultimately, it's going to turn into a bit of a rapid race for the drivers to try and pull it back from the bank. So everyone hoping from a stellar drive. Everyone trying to move forward and see where exactly can they get that little bit more pace underneath him, trying to bring back some of the momentum. But Jason Farmer working on consistency. Last lap 2:18.1 and comes across the line now at 2:18.7. A little bit slower than his last lap time, but he does get round one of his teammates, and that wasn't Ulrich de Jager. It was getting past Michael Hassenbrook, who was the purple and black that was behind him, wearing Ulrich de Jager's colours, just going and shining out there and saying, hey, listen, going and showing off the purple and black. Quite a standout car, won't lie, out of quite a few different ideas. Vimpy Mankeys, running off at the bus stop, and I think sunk it in a little too deep there. He does rejoin nice and safely, but just a race turning into a nightmare. Spa, definitely not a circuit on Vimpy's list. Vimpy's has been having a little bit of a detrimental season of late. Hasn't had the easiest of times out there for the Cocker Racing team. He's on 74 points, lying in 21st position behind Chris Van Sale, and has been trying to bring it back from the brink every step of the way. We'll be hoping for a solid drive on his part. Bet Mankeys pushing on to Jaco Nortman and seeing if he could try and close up. Wilfred Robertson catching up to Francis Bernardi, who is out there in the Aston Martin V8 AMR, as getting chased down by the American-made Ford Mustang chasing down. Fun fact about the Aston Martin AMR V8, it actually uses a Mercedes V8 engine, not a true Aston Martin motor, as it's a bit of a joint effort between the AMG engine build and the Aston build. And it isn't the true Aston Martin ground up like the V12 was, but it has the reliability coming in from the Mercedes AMG GT3 and joined up with it. Unfortunately, Wilfred Robertson is in the full Ford Mustang home build and will be trying to fight his way through. Mustang, since coming to the sim, has been a widely favored car when it first came out, and now it's a little bit sparse of seeing it going and racing around thanks to the BOP coming into effect and throwing it down the order. Hasn't had the easiest of times out there, but Wilfred Robertson been sticking with the car right the way through. He's been enjoying working on the car, making it come to its top. The Bet Mankeys out there in the Ferrari 296, and so far is a fan favorite for mid-engine cars, as it's the new, more reliable of the cars, the easier ones to jump in compared to the likes of the McLaren that he's fighting out with. The Ferrari a lot more forgiving than the McLaren. The McLaren is very hard on its braking, very hard on the rear tires to try and keep it going, and will be trying to fight it out there. So now it's side by side, as we do see Wilfred Robertson down the inside, gets past Franz Bernardi, says thank you very much on that one. And Louis Trickard, who sits 1 second in the back, will be trying to pull his way into the fight as well. So where exactly can he move forward? Our drivers just trying to push that a little bit harder, trying to see what they can do. And Michael Hassenbrook, unfortunately, into the dirt. That's going to cost him a bit of time. He does rejoin on the circuit, seeing the likes of Sean Herrera and Jeffrey LaRue come barreling on by. And Michael Hassenbrook having a bit of a moment out on the circuit. Let's quickly take a look, find out what exactly happened to him on that right-hander that got him a bit unsettled. We see Jason Farmer carving his way up through the circuit. This Michael Hassenbrook, though, just joining like many that have been through that left-hander, going and having the rear slip out underneath him. Thankfully, he didn't meet the wall, was able to save it and continue on the drive, but the tyres definitely felt that little bit of pain and will be trying to pull back from the brink. So not an easy time out there, but it's good to see him that he was able to get that back from a bit of danger, as Louis Trickard utilising the road plus more. Running a bit wide out of Eau Rouge, chasing down Franz Bernardi, trying to see what he can do at the moment. Seeing that Wilfred Robertson is a little bit further up ahead. He wants to join into the battle. Bernardi not completely out of the running, so Francis hoping to try and bring them back from the brink, as we do see Tyron Myberg in the red Mustang is starting to close on onto this trio. See if he can bring himself back in for the fight as well. Always an interesting time to see these drivers pushing out a little bit harder, trying to find that little bit of pace and one-up each other around the circuit. With 12 minutes to go, it's now just autopilot for many of these drivers. Just circulate, watch those lap times, and keep going by. For those that are in fights, this is where it starts getting a little bit more difficult. You start to feel that little bit of a shake on your left leg, on your right leg, as you've been going and constantly fighting with the pedals. You're constantly fighting against the steering wheel. You're constantly trying to figure out what you can do to just find that quarter of a second, that one drive out of the sector that can make or break it for your position to really move up through the order and can score you valuable points for the championship. As Matt Mankeys and Jaco Nortman have been fighting it out. These two have been keeping very, very close to one another ever since they've done the pit stops, and now trying to just keep it going for the next 11 minutes. Who is going to get first? This is a question that comes in to many of the drivers. Jeffrey Leroux, case in point, he could play a very influential role in the championship here if he goes and fights out against Sean Loureiro, or if he maintains where he is. If he gives position to Ryan Heineke, that's also going to change up how the championship looks. All these little bit of changes that can happen out on circuit can start throwing drivers out of a solid run, and ultimately these drivers need to consider what they need for the championship. And for those that are not quite in the championship, how much of an influence they can make for it. Now, we do know that the teams will be discussing amongst one another, trying to sort it out, but I highly doubt Jeffrey Leroux is getting any feedback on, hey, listen, get off the gas and allow for Ryan Heineke to make up some room, considering he's 10 seconds back, or go and just give Sean Loureiro the room to try and score as much for the championship. I'm dead sure the comms between them is race. Just race. Go and enjoy it. Have a fight out there. Don't take each other out. That's the only order of the day between you two. And ultimately, they are having to try and concentrate on their drive. Matt Mankeys trying to see if he could go around the outside of Jaco Nortman through the hairpin. Couldn't quite get that one done. And ultimately, yes, he bring it back into the toe as well. Pushing on that a little bit harder as we now into the final 10 minutes of this race. The final 10 minutes of the second last round of the season for Sim Race South Africa, simGT3 Season 2 of 2026. It's round 5 out of 6. The Matt Mankeys keeps the pressure on to try and get past Jaco Nortman. Look down the inside. Can he carry the momentum? And he does get it done and dusted. Nortman goes and brings it back though, as Mankeys sunk it in a little too deep there. Slow on the exit after going and cutting the corner. That will be a warning to the Matt Mankeys. Jaco Nortman now has an opportunity to stay in for the fight here, to move forward. Another ongoing battle that can influence things is Jeffrey Leroux and Sean Loureiro. These are the two battles we keep an eye on at the moment, because they are for overall track position, but also can come into play for the championship. Ultimately, none of the drivers looking to lose out a bit of time. Jaco Nortman lies in 22nd position with 68 points as he fights out against the Matt Mankeys, who is out there having a solid time. He's 7th in the championship. So the Matt Mankeys wants to try and score as many points as possible to try and keep his foot in for the championship, to stay within the top 10 at the moment, which is going to be a very, very difficult drive. Sean Skitter keeps the drive back to the likes of Jason Luck as they do come flying past. That, I believe, will be Anthony... no, it's not Anthony Moritz. That is Kurt Swart, who minded out of the way. Allowed Sean Skitter and Jason Luck to come flying on by. Gets an easy overtake there. Now Skitter looking to try and get past Jason Luck, who I highly doubt is going to be very easy to get it done and dusted, and will be thinking, right, you're going to have to earn for it. So as we jump on board the rear wing of the 992 GT3R, trying to get a little bit more drive underneath it, continues the momentum. Sean Skitter going to be hemorrhaging points here at Spa, and going to be thinking, right, Honda, you have not played well with me, and this is leaving us in a very compromised position heading into the final round, as he will be dropping down to 4th. Jason Farmer will move up to 3rd in this, and oh no, it's nearly done! Save it, save it, save it! He did! Oh my word! That was a fight and a half for Sean Skitter to save the car. What a drive. I mean, let's take a look on board. This is through Blanchemont. Hooks it in, and watch how the car steps out underneath him. Oh, just fight. Still reasonably kept it in. Had to change the traction control to just try and bring the car back, and did not like how that car was stepping out underneath him. Sean Skitter lost out some serious time, and it looks like once again running into a little bit of foul. Heading up Eau Rouge, and cut the corner and had to massively slow down to avoid a drive-through penalty, and that ultimately has cost him a serious amount for the championship, allowing luck to open up a 6-second gap to him. Oh my word, Sean Skitter needs a change of overalls, that is for certain, after having to try and catch the car. Chris Heineke looking to get past Tyron Myberg, getting squeezed to the grass on the inside, has to switch out to the outside, see if he can try go for the undercut through the hairpin, swings it round a little too wide, gets on the gas, but it's going to be Myberg who has got the inside line, heading down through the right-hander as they make their way in towards Eau Rouge. Who's the last of the late breakers here? It's going to be the Mustang or the Aston. It's going to be the Aston of Chris Heineke, who makes his way up through the corner, gets it done and dusted. Tyron Myberg falls down the position. Now Chris Heineke, after serving that drive-through penalty, back up into the top 10, now up into 9th. Still having a solid go at the moment. Jeffrey LaRue trying to push as hard as he can to stay in for the fight here. He knows that it's just all about waiting it out to try and keep the pressure on Sean Loureiro, who is out there having a solid run. 11 seconds up the road from them. Jason Farmer, who has just completely run away with this race, having a stellar drive. Seeing where exactly he can go. 5 minutes left in the race, though, and our drivers going to be giving it everything they can to give it a hard push down to the wire. Jeffrey LaRue looking to try and get that second place, going up through Eau Rouge and Radion, trying to close up to Sean Loureiro. Jason Farmer now seeing Limit Mankeys a little bit ahead of him, will be going and saying, right, now got to try and clear past you. Limit Mankeys will take a look at the rearview mirror and see Jason Farmer will be allowing him to come through without too much of a fight, as we do have a change up full position. That's Louis Trickhart losing out to Anthony Moritz, who's managed to make up a bit of time here. So Anthony, after having that disconnect, now trying to make up a bit of time. He does see Timothy ahead of him, who is a lap ahead, a couple of laps ahead actually, who's on a stellar drive. It's good to see that Anthony not giving up the fight just as yet. Continues to try and power the Mustang through. Next on his list, 18 seconds up the road, is this man over here, Francis Bernardi, in the Aston Martin. With 3 minutes and 54 seconds to go, he's going to be hoping for Francis to have a bit of trouble. That will throw that car into the pits to get him sorted out. However, I don't think Francis is planning to visit the pit lane anytime soon, other than to go and park the car after the race. Fight for second, still on. 0.6 of a second between these two. Sean Loureiro and Jeffrey LaRue trying to push each other to the limit in the BMWs. Jason Farmer in the Ferrari leads out the race by 11 seconds, heading into 12. Ruben Heineke into 4th place. Now Heineke is going to be hemorrhaging a few points here, which means Sean Loureiro is going to be leading out the championship into the final round, with Ruben Heineke in 2nd place, having to pull it back from the brink in 2nd. Jason Farmer will be in 3rd, and Sean Skitter will be sitting in 4th place, trying to make up a bit of time, heading into the final round of the championship. This isn't all that's over. This is literally setting up Bathurst to be the gauntlet, the fight, to see who can push it that little bit harder, and ultimately who can call themselves the champion for Season 2 of 2026, right here at SimRace South Africa for our simGT3 Championship. And ultimately, everyone trying to see it through to the very end. pushing as hard as they can. Sean Lerero looking to finally get hold of a championship. He has been absolutely crawling for it for years now. Sean Lerero has been fighting out against his own teammates for the championships across leagues, across the world, and now having to do it yet again against Jason Farmer, Ruben Heineke, Jeffrey LaRue, all putting that pressure on him, trying to see where they could get by. Quick flash coming in from Jeffrey saying, I'm coming for you, buddy. 0.5 of a second. I'm going to start putting the pressure on and start really making it work in my favor to try and pull it back from the brink to get back into this fight. Always a tough time. There's that little bit left to go. 1 minute and 37 seconds to go as our leader now continues to make his way through. Next time by will be the final lap for Jason Farmer, who has looked to try and bring it back from the brink. Lap 1, he went out wide, lost out a lot of momentum, and fell back down into the top 10 and got about 9th position before he had to claw his way back through the field. Ultimately, now leads out the race and just needs to keep it all together. Lerero and LaRue both going and flirting with track limits as they now start to catch up to the back end of Jaco Nadir. And we got yellow flags for Michael Hassenbrook, who has gone and caught the wall on through the left-hander. Able to get the car restarted and back out onto the circuit. Being a bit of a nightmare for him. Oh, big mistake for Sean Lerero, outbraking himself into the bus stop. And Jeffrey LaRue having a go at him. So a big move coming in there. And Lerero just sunk it in way too deep. Swung himself back in. Takes that bird of an L. And will be going and getting a bit of a warning, a slap on the wrist with a wooden spoon from the stewards there. And as we know, our leader is on the final lap. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now our checker flag ready to come out for our leader. Sean Lerero, though, fighting for second. Oh, swings the car out wide against Jeffrey LaRue. The two of them fight it out. And these two absolutely brawling. Now, this is where Lerero's got to have a cool head. He's got to have a cool head. One mistake here can cost him the lead of the championship. He needs to keep LaRue behind him to have that little bit of spacing to try and pull it through. And he is absolutely fighting tooth and nail to keep that car in check. Jason Farmer, once again, a stellar drive on his part. We'll be looking at another victory here at SimRace South Africa to put underneath his belt, and will be taking third into the championship for the final round. Jaco Nadir, though, got to be the back marker in play. There's Sean Lerero trying to chase him down. Dives down the inside to get that pass done and dusted. Jeffrey LaRue doing everything he can to try and bring it from the brink as out through Blanchmont. Here comes Jason Farmer with 2 corners to go. A stellar drive. Started on the front row. Fell back into the middle of the pack and brought it back to the finish line. In first place, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Farmer takes the victory at Spa for round 5 of the championship. Late on the brakes. Gets it done and dusted. Sean Lerero will take second place after having to fight it out against Jeffrey LaRue, and will take the advantage into round 6, our final round of the championship. Sean Lerero leads out the championship. Jeffrey LaRue finishes up in third. Ruben Heineke will come across the line in 4th place, will be second in the championship. Trying to fight it through. Jason Farmer will be third in the championship heading into the final round. Jason Luck ahead of Sean Skitter, who will be kicking himself after this race. Michael Hassenbrook and Ulrich Diaga, the 2 purple BMWs, come across the line. Beautifully done for the Griffin Sim Racing team. And what a drive on both their parts. Ulrich getting a 7th and Michael getting a 13th. Chris Heineke, after a drive-through penalty costing him some time, He's able to bring it back into 8th position with Tyrant Myberg finishing at 9th. Timothy Gnomes will finish up in 10th. 11th place for the Bet Yankees along with Yucca Nortman, Michael Assenbrook. Third, Swart in 14th position. Hitting up Bernardi along with Alfred Robinson. Rod Spadardi. Anthony Moritz will be rounding out along with Louis Tricot and Vimpy Mankeys rounding out the pack. A stellar drive had by all, and what a show of talent. What a show of performance by our drivers. Very clean start to the race here at Spa, which everyone is always worried there's going to be an accident into Eau Rouge. This time round, it was an absolute treat to go and see these drivers just have a stellar time, put a big smile on their face, and the championship down to the wire. The top 3 each having a chance at it. Jason Farmer, Sean Herrero, and Ruin Heineke will have a shot at the championship. Who will walk away round 6 and call themselves champion? Well, that's going to be on the 27th of July. But we're just going and saying well done to our drivers as they come across the line. As we take a look at some of the racing action we've just had out on circuit. What a stellar drive had by our drivers. Everyone putting on a phenomenal show. And, well, we take a look at how much excitement we've got coming up heading into the final round of the championship. And Anthony Moritz going and saying, had a little bit of a issue with the PC, but heading into the final round, I'm just going to quickly ask Anthony to come to the commentary box just to have a quick chat to us on Oxford Distributors, to come and give us a little bit of insight. And it would be wonderful to just get an insight from our sponsor, who without this season putting in and standing up and saying, listen, come forward, will be going, keeping an eye on him. So hopefully we can get him to come and have a chat to us. So Anthony, if you're there, please make your way through to the commentary box, or at least in the voice chat, ad hoc, Discord channel, or one of them, just so we can pull you in for a quick little bit of a chat on the racing, get a bit of an insight on this season and being part of SimRace South Africa. So, see if we could try and send a message to him and just say, hello. For those out there in the land, has never heard from our sponsors, and we always just want to go and give a bit of a highlight to the incredible sponsors that has kept us going. So quick chat. Let's see if we can get him. So sent a bit of a voice message. Well, not a voice message, just a message. See if we can possibly get him in on air. Come and have a chat to us. And without Oxford Distributors being a part of the show, a massive thank you to all our admin and stewards as well behind the scenes and putting on a fantastic show, to all our drivers and teams. And having a go. So Anthony saying struggling to connect. Well, Anthony, if you can just go into any of the voice chats, and we'll pull you in for a quick chat. So just any of them. Voice chat split one, or one of those. I did see Gert jumped in quickly and then disappeared. See if we can possibly get him in. But what a race we had here at the beautiful, beautiful circuit of Spa-Francorchamps for the second last round of the championship. was a stellar one. I see we've got it's what there we go. We got Anthony to come and bring us in for a bit of a chat. Let's see if we can bring him in for that quick move to voice chat commentators. Anthony, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear now, Steve.
Hey, there we go. Anthony, what a season thus far. Heading into the final round 6 on the 27th of July. It looks like it is a brawl for first, second, and third. But for Oxford Distributors coming in for the season, being a part of the show, how has it been for you as not only just a sponsor, but a team owner, a driver coming into this and really putting your name forward?
Yes, Stephen, I must tell you, the guys at SRSA, they are phenomenal. They've been pulling all strings to get this show together. I know Sus, yes, he's trying it at his utmost best to keep this show going. And then, obviously, I need to thank you. I need to thank everybody, all these guys, for always pitching up and just making it easier for the show to go on. With all the little technical issues going on. And then obviously a big thank you to you, my boy. Yes, I think everybody would agree that you're just next level. Thank you. And you made this stream and you made this event just next level.
Well, I actually think the drivers made it next level. Same as for like your case. We know that you had PC troubles. Explain to us as this grandstand. So what exactly happened out there? We saw you pull into the pits and then went out, suddenly disconnected, reconnected, and got back in. I mean, that's a gut-wrenching blow, but it was phenomenal to see you still fighting out to the end. I mean, take us through what happened.
Yes, Tyron was just right behind me. And I was just trying to keep the tires cool the whole time because, when somebody's chasing you like Myberg, you have to keep your cool the whole time because he's hungry and he wants that place. And that's the thing. When I went into the pits, as soon as I hit that pit limiter, it just bombed out. I was in the garage and I couldn't do anything. So I had to get out of the car and ask the engineer what's going on. But yeah, Control-Alt-Delete, end task, try to go back in. And then you have to wait the time through. I think it was like 1 minute and 40 seconds or something. And obviously, that wasn't counted as my pit. So I had to go and pit again. I went out, lost control of the vehicle. Yeah, I just told myself, you know what? When you receive peace, you must apply it. And I breathed and I was like, dude, just finish this thing. And then I tried to catch Gomez. Was it Gomez? Yeah, Timothy. And I caught him at the end, but I think he was just like, there's no need to race anymore. So he gave it to me. But it wasn't for placing anyway. But, Mos, you have to be a sport. Don't exit. Just go on.
Got to see it through to the end. If you see the green, you got to see the checkered. And absolutely wonderful to hear it. Now, Anthony, that being said, for anyone that doesn't know what Oxford Distributors is, can you give us a little bit of an idea of what you do as Oxford Distributors that's around the countryside?
So we distribute vehicle parts to all panel beaters. Actually, that was our main thing when we started up the business, and also insurance companies. And when we mention insurance companies, it's all about quality. We put quality on the table. And the competition is quite big outside there. And then we started the yard as well, where we started doing second-hand car parts as well. And it's going good. But again, it's about quality. It's about honesty. Not only quality parts, but also quality service. And we're always there to help. Not everybody can, afford some parts, and we can make a plan. We're all brothers and sisters, so we're here to help. Actually, it's business, but we're here to help.
Always thinking about the little man in the fight as well. Absolutely great stuff. Anthony, before we let you go, and after fighting to the end, anything you would like to say to the drivers, to the teams, to the incredible spectators joining out here in SimRace South Africa, being a part of the show, to everyone in behind the scenes, really putting in the hard work to get this going, and heading into the final round of the championship, where we're going to be declaring a champion, and it's a fight out between 4 different drivers for that top spot. And the championship really coming down to that final race to make it or break it.
Yes, I was listening to your stream while I was driving, and you can hear the top oaks fighting it out. And you can hear the pressure is on, because you can hear the little mistakes going on. So obviously the drivers can feel it. But a big shout out to all the guys there in front. They are fast. We call them aliens, next level. But yes, just well done to them all. And like I said, it's not only Sus. Sus is always trying, but it's you, Stephen. It's just everybody who just pitch up every time. You got guys who's actually a lot slower. They're newbies, but they just pitch up every time, and they fill the grids. And that just makes it so much better. That's why we do this. It's fun. We have fun, but it's still racing, and it's professional. So thank you, everybody, for keeping it professional and keeping it lekker.
It's going to be a great one, and thank you so much for joining us, the head of Oxford Distributors, Anthony Moritz, who's also been racing this season out in the Mustang. Anthony, good luck for round 6, heading into the final round to try and fight out for that top 10 in the championship, and we're looking forward to crowning our next champion here in SimRace South Africa.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it.
So Anthony Moritz having a stellar time. Not quite the race he wanted to have, but absolutely kept the fight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got plenty of racing to come here in SimRace South Africa, and you can find out all the upcoming championships and all the upcoming ad hoc races as well by joining up with our Discord. Everything is in the description down below, and be a part of this amazing action right here at SimRace South Africa. We're looking forward to a stellar time heading into the final round of the championship on the 27th of July. We will be crowning a champion, and you can be a part of the show. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Major thank you to all our sponsors. Big thank you to our title sponsor, Oxford Distributors, to everyone in the back of SimRace South Africa, keeping it all alive, working frantically behind the scenes, from the stewarding to setting up the servers, to keeping the show going, to the drivers, to the teams coming in and putting on a phenomenal show, and to our awesome spectators, the petrol heads, you guys out in the virtual grandstands that keep us going every single time and fighting our way to the top. My name is Stephen Kernick. I'd like to say a big thank you to Tim, our cameraman, Jim, who is our flag marshal, and we will see you next time right here at SimRace South Africa. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the bell notification icon, and like always, folks, say it with me, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.